The Yreka City Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. So it's nice to see a full house tonight. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you and we appreciate your opinions. We ask that all of you, when you give your opinions, to please be respectful. Everyone be respectful of one another with your opinions. We appreciate that. Also, if you have a cell phone, please silence it. Mine's on silent, so please silence it so no phones will be ringing, no clapping, and no cheering. But I see that you have signs, and that's great. Just don't put them up so other people can't see, and be respectful of one another. Okay, public comments. This is the time for public comments. Council may ask questions, but may take no action during the public comment period of the meeting at this time, except to direct staff to prepare a report or place an item on a future agenda. If you are here to make comments on a specific agenda item, you may speak at that time. If not, this is the time. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Does anyone have a comment at this time that is not on the agenda? Yes, Louise.
Well, it's on the agenda. My question to the council is, I would like to, and I think several other people here would like to make comment after item number 2, after Mr. Muir has done his presentation. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's
Yes.
all I'm asking.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think Mr. Foster, former council member Foster, would like to say something.
It's good to be back.
Thank you.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name.
Hello, my name is Fernando Flores. I represent the Music Hall and the Rex Club.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to say that this year we've been offered the opportunity to work with the city in producing the event for Gold Rush. We are donating sound equipment and my services as a sound engineer for the events.
Great, thank you.
I just had a couple of concerns. I was led to believe that a member of the council had some safety concerns about the way we're planning on running the power to the event for the stage.
Anyone?
Not me.
Anyone?
Negative.
No, I know that there's a power source that's at, Matt knows about this.
Yes.
There's a power source, the stage does draw a lot of power. And there is a power source at the park, right?
At the plaza, yes.
The plaza, right.
Yes,
Right.
I'm aware. I just wanted to make sure that we're willing to work to find a different solution other than running extension cords from our storefronts to power the stage. I was led to believe that that's what
No.
that you guys were thinking that we were gonna do.
No.
That
No,
was
it's-
was presented as an option, but it was very early in the when we were discussing it. But yeah, I just wanna, and I tried leaving some messages with Mr.
I got
Gray.
your messages after.
I like to discuss it some more and
Yep,
make sure
I would too.
we get this
Okay.
event going. all
Okay,
correctly.
great. Matt, would you, we can do that, right? Direct staff to contact them afterwards?
I have a message, yeah.
Okay,
I have a
all right.
message for now.
Yeah,
Once
certainly
today.
we'd be happy to talk to you about
I'll
it,
give
and
it
thank
to
you
you.
for your time and what you're doing for the biggest event that we're having, other than the fair. So, thank you. We all go to the Gold Rush Days, and we appreciate your help.
We always take our family there, family from out of town, we tell them to come on Gold Rush Day.
Right.
You know, it's a nice stroll down Minor Street
And Broadway.
Broadway, yes.
Fernando, if you're around in the morning, I
Thank
can
you.
give you a call, and Ben and I can maybe, the maintenance manager and I can meet
Yes.
you. If you
Yeah,
can be
I
around
could-
tomorrow.
I could be around at as early as 9 AM.
Okay,
That works
I will
for
give you a
us.
call before 9.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
great. Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, anyone else have a comment? Rex?
I think he's letting him sit down.
Oh. There's someone else coming in?
Yeah.
Okay, please come to the podium, state your name and address if you're comfortable to do so. No, he's leaving. Okay. Phil?
Phil Porter, live on North Street. Looking through the expenses that you people pay the bills for in the city, I noticed that we're buying Mount Shasta spring water. Is that a reflection on our water quality of our water?
Not to my knowledge. Unless you're talking about this, and this is not.
No.
This is Rayleigh's Purified.
Mount Shasta spring water, you guys are paying for coolers.
Is that so?
It just at the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, at the wastewater treatment plant?
Correct.
That's
They
kinda
don't drink their
strange.
own water?
Treatment plant?
Not that water.
That's kinda scary. Okay.
Actually,
I was just wondering, you know.
But thank you, I'll look into that.
Isn't
Thank
it,
you,
isn't it a
Phil.
new law for a labor law that we have to supply water for our workers now? I know I do it my own business, but I know a certain amount of employees, I think you're supposed to offer water for your employees, whether it be,
Even if
doesn't
you
have to be tapped.
treated water that runs out of the tap?
Yeah, I think it has to be other than that. I think I seen something
Where
pass
do you
on,
think
in
Mount Shasta
California.
spring water comes from?
I know.
Out of Mount Shasta's, public water system.
I use tap water, it's fine for me. Thank you, Phil. Is there anyone else that has a comment on something that is not on the agenda? Yes,
I just had a suggestion.
come down to the podium,
Yes, dear.
please. State your name.
It's about the agenda tonight. So Brian Foster, former council member extraordinaire, 537 Evergreen. I just wondered if maybe tonight we could swap item 2 with item 3, swap those two.
Actually, we are.
Are
But
you?
I
Did I
was
miss
just-
something?
Yeah, no, I haven't
She hasn't
announced it
announced it
yet.
yet.
I'm going to bring item number 5
Announce away.
up under 1 and item number 3 under that, and then we'll go to 2.
Okay,
Is that all right with you?
it is approved.
Thank you.
Carry on.
Thank you. Okay, just for everyone's knowledge, I am going to switch things around. Item number 5, which is the bus passes for students, is going to go up under item number 1. We are gonna do the consent calendar first. And then we would like to have the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department. You guys are all here in the back. There you are, Jerry. Thank you, Chief. Then we'll bring you in next. And then Dave, then you'll be after that. Is that all right? Okay. Alrighty, item number 1, discussion possible action, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion or a member of the audience wishes to comment on an item. The city manager recommends approval for the following consent calendar items. A, approval ratification of payments issued from May 4th through May 17th, 2018. And B, approval of minutes of the meeting held May 3rd, 2018. What's the wishes of the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve the items 1A and 1B as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll go to item number 5, if you'll turn in your agenda. This is an item that I've been working on with our city manager. And at our local transportation meeting last Wednesday, is Darylyn Reed here? She's not here, okay. I want to give her some credit here in a minute. Okay, we had a discussion on that, this was on our agenda. As you all know, our swimming pool, we've had some issues with our swimming pool and it is not open. The idea is to provide bus passes for kids from 5 to 17 years old so they could go to Montague or Etna or Weed, wherever they want to go all summer long from June 1st to September 1st to go and be able to have swimming lessons or go swim. It passed the local transportation commission with all ayes, and there's members from the county board of supervisors as well as cities on there. And then it passed from the board of supervisors last Tuesday. Now we're bringing it to our city council, and all the paperwork is here. You can see what we discussed at the local transportation commission meeting. City manager Baker, do you have anything you want to add to that? We're looking for approval for this. Oh, and by the way, Chief, our chief is here tonight, Chief Gamache, and he is all in for this, right, Chief?
I have a question on that.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. You stated June 1st to September 1st, but the written thing states June 15th to August 15th. And that's the dates I seem to remember the Board of Supervisors agreeing on.
Ah, well, they
So-
changed it.
Okay.
I thought it was, it's supposed to be from when school lets out until school starts.
Whatever those days are.
whatever those dates are.
Which is pretty close to that, right?
It's pretty close to
it
it,
is.
June 15th to August
Right.
15th, but that's what's in the
June,
written
July.
agenda.
Yes, you're right. The pass would be valid from June 15th to, I stand corrected. Thank you, Councilmember Shatsky. Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I think it's good that we're trying to make an effort to do the right thing. My only question is, in this, we were talking about, staging them from ages 5 to whatever,
17.
17.
Right. But the
Um,
young ones would not be allowed to go by themselves.
Okay,
They'd have to have an
that's-
older child or an adult with them.
That's what I was gonna bring to the
Right.
table, that we should have something there for some type of,
Guidelines.
yeah,
That's probably,
basically chaperone of some sort.
that's really the transit district or the transit agency stage
Stage.
Stage.
would be deciding that.
Okay. Cause I know as, you know,
But no 5-year-olds by themselves.
no, and I guess as a, knowing that parents around here, that I would be a little skeptical on sending my 5-year-old kid on the stage, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Question?
Yes.
Says here that the allocation of splash for the last swim season was 32,500. Did we allocate that this year, because it was, because, did we already give it to them?
No,
Like you-
no.
Okay, are they out some expense to where they'll need some of that?
I haven't heard them mention that at all, have you?
We
I
haven't
don't
heard
think
that,
so.
because we're going to be having that assessment, so.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is that it's not reflected in, the assessment's reflecting a $35,000 amount above what we normally would have under the Ringy Pool rehab, and I'm wondering, that needed to be fixed. There's 30,000, and then the other 2,000 that you were looking for the bus passes, well, or maybe 4,000, I don't know what you're looking for.
Lieutenant Gamache, would you come down here a little bit?
Chief.
Oh,
Chief.
I'm sorry, Lieutenant, I just demoted him again. I apologize. Chief Gamache. We had a meeting earlier this week, and Chief Gamache was talking about, money that he has to use for children. And so, would you like to share with the council what you told me?
You can go to the podium.
Yes, please, come to the
Yes,
podium.
yeah, that way
I
it can be recorded
apologize, I
properly.
didn't get your title wrong. That's Lieutenant Betts right there. This
That
is
is.
There
Chief
you go.
Gamache.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have historically had a teen fund. Then we buy bicycle helmets to hand out through the year for kids that don't have bike helmets to help them comply with the laws.
Right.
And there is money, after I spoke with Ms. Hogan, and there is funds available from what I understand. And if it's approved, we would be willing to help out with whatever we have in the teen fund for that.
Right. So that would be either funded or partially funded.
Okay, and maybe some of the money that was gonna go to Splash would fund that and offset the,
Right.
got it, okay.
We
Thank
don't
you,
have a-
Chief.
Thank you.
We don't have a good idea on how many people will use it. It's like you almost have to experiment.
Right, we were trying to come up with a total number, and all of the cities are interested in doing this, but the charge would be $40 per permit. The city of Yreka is looking at funding that because of the pool situation, so we're not sure. We thought we'd start out with 50, and then we'll see how many more kids that there are up to 100. Yes, Phil?
Is this a me too to what Stage has just published in the paper that they are doing this?
It's not a me too. I guarantee you, I put it on the agenda. So it's
But I saw tonight
ours.
that Stage is giving bus passes.
The stage upstaged us.
Oh,
Yes.
But they're selling the passes.
They're still,
Oh, yeah, they will be selling the passes. We will be having ours available for the kids we will purchase them and give them to the kids. All of the cities in all of Siskiyou County will have the ability to purchase them if they want to.
But the paper article was kind of not really clear as what was.
Well, right behind you is the editor of the paper. And I think we could probably correct that, right, Dave? Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Go ahead. Well, I think we should put a limit on it, so it's not an open-ended
Yeah.
expenditure. So I mean, I'm agreeable with $100 up to
Okay.
$40, that's $4,000.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be our limit.
Okay.
And then if it's overwhelming demand, then it could
Bring
come
it
back
back.
to us.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan?
How, are we planning to distribute the passes?
The chief forgot to talk about that.
You didn't ask me to.
Well, I didn't, you're right, I did. The chief is talking about the police department doing that, because we feel like it's a very positive opportunity for the police working with the children at an early age in a positive way.
So are they going to go to the schools and distribute them that way, or what is the mechanism for actually getting these 50 bus passes up to 100 bus passes out to the kids?
I guess that the short answer is that we still have a little bit of time to figure that out. We probably do not want to just go out and pass them out to everyone,
No,
because
we're
that's
not
just
gonna
like
do that.
handing out a free
Candy.
good. Of course you're gonna take it,
Yeah.
even if you have no intention of using it. So, we've talked, the police department has indicated that there may be a distribution channel appropriate through them. We may do it at City Hall as well, or we may not, I mean, we've gotta figure that out. There's some logistics that we need to work out.
Right,
This is getting the policy direction, and we can work out the
Right.
details.
right.
But we will, at this point, as far as I know, they will need to come to the city as opposed to the LTC
Right.
to purchase the free passes from us.
Right, purchase them, or
That's not the right
there will
way
be
to
a
say it.
way of keeping
To pick them
track.
up, yeah.
There will take the name, the address, only Yreka kids that does this pertain to, and the age, right? So
Right.
we'll have the
Parental.
contact, and parental signature, right?
There's one other option that we didn't discuss, is having Splash distribute.
Could be some,
Right.
yeah, we need to talk about it once it's decided how we're gonna do it, and how many, that sort of thing. 'Cause it makes a little bit of a difference how you handle it tonight.
Right.
And then we're gonna come up with a plan to get them out to
Right.
the people.
Right, what we're asking
The
for
kids.
tonight is permission to go ahead
Right.
with, and then we'll figure out how to get
The
it to the
details.
kids,
Yeah.
yes. So.
It'll be good.
Any other questions or the wishes of the council?
I think it's,
Okay.
Well, ready for a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion then that we approve the bus passes for students from June 15th to August 15th, that we provide up to $40 pass for up to 100 students, and the details to be worked out by the city manager.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, I have to tell you, I'm really pleased about this. And Darylyn Reed, I'm sorry that she's not here, but this idea came about from a discussion with Darylyn. So I want to thank her publicly for her help with that. She's a great lady. Okay, now, we said we're gonna take item number 3, so Chief, Fire Chief, Jerry, can you come down? Item number 3 is discussion, possible action, approval of appointment of Joseph Betts and Cody Hankins, is that how you pronounce it?
Correct.
To the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department.
Yes.
Chief,
Madam Mayor and council members, thank you, Brian, and thank you for moving us up in the agenda, and thanks for the patience of the audience. So tonight, we bring Mr. Joseph Betts and Cody Hankins. They are currently attending College of the Siskiyous, which helps them tonight to get out of here and go attend to their studies as well.
Okay, great.
Have been through the fire academy, so they bring ready to go to fires experience. And so we're looking forward to getting them on the force as soon as we can, and they're gonna be a great addition, I'm sure. Nice, great young men, so.
are they
we're happy.
here?
They are here.
Good.
If they weren't, they'd be
Gentlemen,
in
would
trouble.
you like to come forward? Okay,
Liz?
is there any questions from the council?
Welcome.
yeah.
I think we have to approve it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have to abstain because
Yes,
of
you
my
do.
relation to the fire department.
Yes, you do, thank you. So do I have a motion by any other council member?
I move we approve the appointment of Joseph Betts and Cody Hankins to the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Welcome,
Right
gentlemen. Our city clerk now will swear you in.
You want to come down in front of the dais and look up the camera, smile pretty. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Josie Benson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the United States of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I bear true faith and allegiance
that I bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service and congratulations. Thank you for volunteering. We appreciate your service. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for volunteering and for your service. Okay, item number two. Oh, Jerry, I'm sorry.
Just an update, that brings our membership to approximately 27 with
Excellent.
a couple in the wings, so we're still moving forward as we're gonna have folks retiring in the next 3 to 4 years possibly, so we wanna keep it going, so we're not done yet.
Good,
Thank
great.
you.
So you're almost
Thank
back
you.
up to your 30.
Right, we're gonna shoot for probably, we'll see how it goes, but, if we can kind of taper off and work on training, but, 30 to 35.
Great, wonderful. Congratulations, Chief. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Now we're back to item number 2, presentation, Klamath River Renewal Corporation, Dave Muir. Hi, Dave, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, members of the council, for giving me the opportunity to address you. Informational only, not seeking an action from the city council. I wanted to do basically 3 things tonight: give you a status of the project, kind of explain why it's happening, and some expected outcomes and potential benefits of the project. I get the question a lot, a fundamental question that goes basically like this: why are you taking down functioning hydropower facilities that are still very efficiently producing inexpensive energy? And that is an eminently reasonable question, and I hear versions of that a lot. And the way I'd like to answer that, begin answering that, is I want to quote my old boss, Congressman Wally Herger. And if you don't know, he was a huge supporter of hydropower facilities. He liked them a lot. But in 2011, he wrote an op-ed that ran in the Siskiyou Daily News and ran in the Record Searchlight and various other publications. And I'm going to quote him. He said, "It is not that the dams are structurally deficient. The problem is that they cannot meet current state and federal laws and regulations. As Pacific Corp moved through the relicensing process, it realized it would be required to spend hundreds of millions of dollars for fish ladders and other mitigation, and yet it was still unclear whether it would receive a vital permit required under the Clean Water Act. Faced with this prospect, Pacific Corp decided to cut its losses. The negotiated settlement allows the company to cap its costs at $200 million. Seeking to relicense the dams would far more than double that cost, which, under current law, would be passed on to ratepayers." End quote. A core reason that this is happening is because the costs of relicensing are staggering. And we used to talk about this when I was on staff with Congressman Herger, and those costs get passed on to ratepayers. They're not paid by the shareholders. And it made Congressman Herger nervous, it made me nervous, and one of his reasons for penning that op-ed was to try to let people know there are consequences here that you just need to be braced for. So that is a core reason that it's happening. There are other reasons too, but now I'm going to start the formal part of my presentation, try to go through a slideshow very quickly. But by way of background, the Klamath River Renewal Corporation, whom I work for, by the way, I'm Dave Muir, I work for KRRC, is a 501c3 nonprofit. It was created in 2016. It's governed by a 15-person board. The board members are signatories of the amended Klamath Hydroelectric Settlement Agreement, and the board is some pretty heavy hitters, big names: former Governor Kulongoski out of Oregon, Lester Snow from California, who's the former director of the California Natural Resources Agency and the former director of the California Department of Water Resources. The entity has a single mission, which is to restore fish passage and improve water quality, primarily by decommissioning 4 hydroelectric dams. KRC is not authorized to entertain any other options, and I hear from folks often who say, hey, why don't you try maybe capture and haul and see how it works for a few years? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? A lot of people have alternatives. We are not empowered to consider any alternative other than the one that's been handed to us by the state of California, the state of Oregon, and Pacific Corp. So we don't reconsider the decision, we just implement it. Ultimately, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission will determine if the project is going forward. A brief history of how we got here. In 2006, Pacific Corp's license expired. Every 50 years, you have to get a new one. The laws have changed a lot, had changed a lot in 50 years. And so Pacific Corp was informed by state and federal agencies, you're gonna have to put in fish passage. And the cost of that is really, really high. And anyone who would try to operate the dam would face that staggering cost. So in 2015, there was a bill before Congress to allow kind of a comprehensive agreement that did a lot for ag up in the basin. It did spent a lot of money to try to do some restoration, but it included dam removal. Congress did not approve that. Therefore, that bill failed, the KBRA. But in 2016, the parties to that dam removal project signed a new agreement, created the KRRC to carry it out, and we are currently in the process of trying to do so. Again, approved by 23 parties, tribes, environmental community, Pacific Corp states. We have 2 applications pending before FERC. There's the license transfer and the surrender application. Question 1, FERC, will you allow the license to be transferred to KRRC? And the next question is, and do you accept the plan to decommission? And the answer would have to be yes to both. It requires no congressional funding or approval from Congress. The funding comes from Pacific Corp, a customer surcharge that everyone's been paying on their bill, $200 million, with an additional $250 million available from the state of California from Proposition 1 for a total budget of $450 million. 4 dams in question, Copco 1, Copco 2, and Iron Gate in California, and J.C. Boyle in Oregon. I think it's important to note that these dams are not operated to provide flood control. They don't provide irrigation water or storage for municipal or ag uses. They just spin turbines and the water passes through. Dams out under the Klamath Hydroelectric Settlement Agreement is the least cost alternative for Pacific Corp customers. The California Public Utilities Commission, therefore, when they ran the numbers, they determined this option to be in the best interest of customers, because as you see, the customer cost is capped at $200 million. If Pacific Corp went back into relicensing, you start at roughly double that for the fish ladders, and then we have a hash mark above, because the term they use is potentially uncapped costs. They're not knowable, but they just go high. Every time there's a new species, every time there's a new water quality problem, anything that's wrong that has to be fixed, the bill does not go to the shareholders, the bill goes to the customers. And so the question for customers is, would you rather pay a known capped cost of $200 million, or would you rather be on the hook for 400 plus and on it can potentially go? That's concerned me ever since I was a staffer for Congressman Herger. It's not widely known. Here are some of the expected outcomes and benefits. And again, under electricity, it's lower cost for customers than it would be for upgrading the dams. Water quality, the biologists say, hey, you're going to improve temperature, oxygen, pH, algae, because currently, say behind Copco, for example, you've got more nutrient-rich water that warms up, toxic algae blooms form seasonally. It's a terrible water quality problem, and when that algae dies, it's also a primary food source for a polychaete worm that is the host for a C. shasta disease, and you have perfect conditions to have fish disease outbreaks. So the goal is to improve that, improve fish health, improve and expand habitat. We'll open up about 400 stream miles of habitat that fish haven't had access to for 100 years. Expanded fishing opportunities, especially for steelhead. Steelhead numbers are expected to rebound quickly and robustly. And there are fly fishermen who will pay a lot of money to go fishing in a good experience. It's very important to Native American communities. The fishery has long been part of their health, culture, and economic well-being. Agriculture. This project does not take any water from ag, doesn't impact ag diversions. Link and Keno dams in Oregon stay in place. The project will create 400 direct jobs and 1,400 indirect jobs from short-term and long-term benefits. We're going to be hiring a lot of people. A lot of money is going to be spent in this area. And I know this area has been hammered economically. I went through the timber wars with y'all. I know what we've lost. I know the mills we've lost, and I would really like to see a lot of money spent here, and I would like to see local benefits, and I'd like to see your economy. You've never really recovered from the loss of the timber industry. A robust fishery could be a contributor to a healthier economy. Timeline, I'm gonna focus in on the key thing. If you look at 2021, dam removal and environmental restoration begin January, February is expected timeframe. 2021, 2 months. The goal is 2 months, maybe a smidge into March. Lower the 4 reservoirs simultaneously. Move the sediment through. It's very fine and suspended. Move it through the system out to the ocean. Decommission the dams and start the restoration process. We're going through all the regulatory summary. This process is not getting a free pass from anyone. It's under strict scrutiny from the state of California, the state of Oregon, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And someone told me on the way in it's not a done deal, which is right. It's got to get approved, and no one's going to give us a free pass on this. Local jobs, again, we're going to need people to do native seed collection, invasive and exotic vegetation eradication, vegetation test plots, nursery propagation, groundwater monitoring, driving water tenders. Are going to be construction jobs available, food service jobs, hotels are going to be impacted. We're going to fill up hotels, fill up restaurants. It's going to dump a lot of money into Yreka and Klamath Falls. A key thing here on the major categories of work, right at the top is the City of Yreka intake and pipeline. And I want to assure the audience that the City Council has been holding us to a very high standard and making sure that we're going to give them bulletproof infrastructure.
For our water.
Pardon me?
For our water.
For your water. The city is going to need a new pipeline. The current pipeline is going to be displaced, and so that is a requirement. It's mission critical. And so we have to give you some new robust infrastructure. There will be temporary construction, permanent road and bridge improvements, downstream flood control, hatchery modifications. A lot of work will be going on in conjunction with this project. And again, a lot of local hiring. That's really a summary of it. And Madam Mayor, can I take 1 more minute to just explain one more thing about why I jumped into this? I worked for 23 years for Congressman Herger. I went through the timber wars. I've dealt with the ESA for a long time. And the congressman at the end of his career came up to Yreka, met with some constituents in the Black Bear, and he said, and they wanted him to talk about taking another run at the ESA. And he said, I'm not going to mislead you and say that we're going to be successful. I've been fighting the Endangered Species Act for 20 years. He wished that it was different than it was. He said, it's not going away. I'm not going to pretend it's going to change. And he wasn't going to pretend that the dams were going to stay when state and federal law say they don't meet standards. So the status quo is not possible. So because the status quo is not possible and because things have to change, one of my primary goals is I want this area that's been so harmed for so many years with so many economic downturns to see as great of an outcome as possible and to see an economic benefit. So my heart's with you. So with that, I turn it back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Dave. Are there any questions from the council? Any questions? Before we turn it over to the audience? Okay, any questions or comments from the audience? Please come down to the podium and state your name.
I could do this loud.
No, please come down.
Okay, who's gonna
Thank you.
stand up?
Thank you.
Sorry, fellows.
So the reason why the mayor's asking people to come is because it's being recorded, and the best way to do that is by that microphone. So there are people
Right.
that can't make this meeting for whatever reason, and they'd like to see the meeting, so, and hear what's going on.
Thank
Nothing
I'm Steve
personal.
Young.
Hi, Steve.
I'm pound owner of Burbell Bar. I live on the river, have both sides of the river. It was convenient, sir, that the public, the landowners and homeowners were never mentioned in your articulation. Why is that? Were we considered?
This is a time
Oh,
period
okay,
for
I'm sorry,
comments,
okay, but that's just a
but you can
question
make
to
the
be
comment.
asked.
Right.
And then two, government, anytime I hear a state regulation that's gonna help us, that's why all the businesses are moving out of California. That's why I'm moving out of California. Not my house, but my company, it's going to Nevada because of government California regulations. Sir, that's all I gotta say is, you did not mention the homeowner, the landowner, or the person living on the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments? Yes, please step down to the podium. State your name, and if you're comfortable where you live. Thank you. Welcome.
Susan Wallace, I live in Hornbrook, and I live just above the Klamath River myself. I see and hear it all the time, and the fishing that's going on, and this is all baloney. Anyway, I have 3 questions here from Richard Marshall, who is unable to be here tonight. Question number 1, is the KRRC negotiating a separate transaction with Yreka? And we can't talk back and forth.
No, these are comments, questions that you can ask for the comments.
The second question is, where can we obtain a copy of financial income expense records of the KRRC? And the third question is, if the KRRC is unsuccessful in obtaining the transfer from FERC, can a third party apply for the license? And those are the 3 questions from Richard Marshall. Thank you.
Thank you. And our staff got that. Nita, welcome.
My name is Nita Still. I live in Yreka. And I think the KCCRC are not right. The river is going to be barren of water more than likely in the summertime here. There's also Jerry Bachigalupi and, where is he?
Right there.
Oh dear, Harry Lake made a tunnel, I think it's about 4 miles, 4-mile tunnel for the fish to go around the dams. Nobody's doing anything about that. Nobody's saying anything about that. The whole thing's gonna be expensive. But they're not looking at everything that they could do. And we don't want the KRRC or Brian Dolly to take out our dams, and that is what is going to happen from all that you said. And that is not right.
Thank you, Nita. No. Thank you. Who else has a comment? Please come down and step up to the podium and state your name and address, please. Good evening.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, this is gonna.
Yes, it's on, and your name?
I'm Don McIntosh.
Yes.
I'm a retired PG&E. I spent 28 years in power grid operations, and we controlled the power system, everything from the generation, the different type of generation, to the to the distribution transformers that supply it to the houses. So let's see, what concerns me is that there's a lot of false information that is being circulated here. For one thing, when they take these dams out, the power here, the customer may, the power bills are going to go up double, maybe triple. And then also, because there's a lot of things they're not considering. For one thing, when you take this power system out, there's 169 megawatts worth of generation, and they're going to destroy it. And so they have to build another replacement. So then, let's say that replacement, you're looking at maybe 200 megawatts worth. That could run $4 billion, just like that. So now the customers, the ratepayer is going to pay this. So now they're junking this hydro, and then they have to build a new one. So now when they're doing that, the existing, that's a lot. There's more false information. The existing hydro in this county, might be old, but it is it's basic, it's bulletproof, and it lasts for 50 years. Okay, and right now it's in good shape. The dams have been inspected. The power, the fuel for this is free. Water is free, and then so when they take the generation out, they're going to take it 80 to 100 miles away. They'll tie on to the natural gas line, Ruby gas line. So now they have to build let's say a $4 billion plus plant there. We're going to pay for that. So now when they take it out, now they're going to have to push this power back into this valley, and that's going to cost more to push this back. And then when it gets here, it's going to be, they have to deal with a low voltage condition, and so they'll have to install capacitor banks all over this county. And so then, let's see, so then right there, so then when the natural gas is, when it's a fact that hydro compared to natural gas, it is 4 times greater to run that natural gas unit than hydro. So then another thing, let's say this now, and when I was in PG&E, we dealt with this. The line, all this power, it used to be the northern tie. And so then, so part of these generators, these 4 hydro units supply the lights in this building, and all of this county, the southern part of counties in Oregon, and then they push. They'll sell 70 megawatts worth of power to PG&E, and on this side of Reading, Cascade substation. So this is a beautiful thing that you're going to destroy, and it's actually it can vary from 40 to 50 million dollars worth of revenue. It's literally the cost to produce that power is you're looking at plus or minus 8%. I mean, so there's a lot of money in this. So then so then what the people don't understand, once this is gone, and then once this is gone, it's never coming back. But the Hydro Association has, this is a growing industry, and they're junking this thing, going out, building a new plant, paying more for it, and And I know for a fact that the average person pays $200 a month, you say, in this county. That is changing. I mean, that's going to go 400 minimum. And so, and right now, I mean, we have property down south Evanston, and you know, it's a kind of an average house, a little bit bigger maybe, and that the rate, the power bill will actually vary at times. It will be $600 to $700 a month, depending on, you know, what your, you know, the air conditioning, the heat. But so, and that's going to be right here. So actually in Reading, they're going through a deal right now where this is increasing. So this is what you're going to do to the people when you take this out. And
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Can you wrap up? We have a
sure,
3-minute time limit.
Sure, I can. I guess I did cover it all, but
I think
but
that, and it's on here.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't really hit that too much, but we had to. There's a lot of detail in this, and we had to cut that down to bullet deals.
Well, thank you.
You're on the wrong side of history and getting wrong information actually, and that's fact.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh.
You bet.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Steve, come on down.
Hi, I'm Steve Radford, 409 Evergreen. It's been proven time and time again since I've moved here. I've listened to a lot of the locals, some scientists that from UC Davis and all over the country. Jerry Botchkalupi is an engineer. There's been many people who have stated the facts that why these dams should stay here. And you know, there's the talk about the dams not being California meeting California regulations. Well, that right there is a scary situation, because what we're seeing with California is that they're destroying lives of people all up and down California. And there's going to be more coming out in the future about the wrongs that California has done to the communities and to the people. So abiding to their regulations is not something that we should be concerned about any longer. I wish that we as a community could make the decisions ourselves whether to take the dams out or not. You know, the community should be talking about this, not outside people who want to, you know, be paid big money by the environmentalists and you know, they're paying money to the tribes and to speak up about taking the dams out. You know, we need to be leaders in taking control of our lives. I think Siskiyou County needs to step forward. They've been stepped on enough in the past with the spotted owl thing and the timber and the mining and now the water. They're really after the water. They want to take us out of these areas. You know, they want us out of these rural areas. It's got nothing to do with dams and fish and everything. It's got nothing to do with the fish. The fish weren't here in the first place. They don't get up this high. It's been proven time and time again. I would really request that the board, the city council takes leadership and starts to tell California no. We're tired of it. Our lives are becoming destroyed by your regulations. And the people need to speak up and speak for what's going to be happening with our dams, not some outside sources. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, anyone else want to speak? If you want to?
Can I just say two more things?
Okay. Step one. Can you get there?
This is your jurisdiction. All of you, it's your jurisdiction. It's not his or his associates. And you need to take command and control, just like that sanctuary bill is. We're going against it.
We're not going there.
I'm not saying, talking about the sanctuary bill. I'm talking about a principle that you need to do. This is your jurisdiction. Get rid of the Endangered Species Act here. We don't need it, it's destroying us.
Thank you. Yes, Donna. Please state your name, where you live.
Donna Batchgalupi. I would like to question the speaker. I'm not going to question him, but I'm going to argue against his statement that this does not affect irrigation. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. What does his company think is going to happen without the dams to fluctuate up and down, to give in-stream flow? Where is that water going to be provided from to maintain the flow for the fish? It's going to come from the ranchers and farmers. We all know that. There's no other place for it to come from. You can't make water. You're going to have to take our water to provide the in-stream flow for the fish. That's a fact. The other thing is, when these rates go up, how is the rancher going to be able to pay to pump his water? That's going to affect his irrigation too. So to say that taking out the dams doesn't affect irrigation is absolutely, totally wrong, and they know it. Another thing that I would like to ask him, and I know we can, is there's a rumor that KRRC, I can never get it right. Anyway, that it is being purchased by a Chinese company. Now, I don't know if that's fact, but we've all read that on the internet, that the parent company is going to be a Chinese company. So here we have another nation in charge of taking these dams out. So that might be something you could look into. We can verify that fact. A few other things that he said. It is going to affect the people on the river. Everybody knows that. Their property values is already hit rock bottom. They are considering putting a road to do the construction part. They're gonna have to take the homeowner's property to build these roads. That's a very narrow road. They're gonna have to have a lot of big construction equipment. They're gonna have to take people's property to get that construction equipment up and down those roads. There are so many things that when he goes through this, this thing up here, that we have been able to prove are wrong, and we never get any answers from them. We never get to hear how they came up with the science. We know it's wrong, we know it's flawed. So now they're bringing it to you, and I'm not sure what they want you to do with this, but we are dead set against it, and we're gonna fight till the bitter end. So be prepared.
Thank you, Donna. And we don't make any decisions, this is information only. Phil?
To say that these dams have no influence on flood control is wrong. I've been here before Iron Gate was in. They had signs on the river to watch out for rising water. And with no dams, in a drought year, you're gonna have no water. And if you think that by taking out the dams, this river is gonna run clean, pure, and blue, that is false too. It's coming out of Klamath Lake, it's plumb full of algae. It's not just Iron Gate, Copco that are algae. The algae comes in from Oregon, and taking out the dams is not gonna change that. And also, when they have a fish die off at the mouth of this river, where are they gonna get the water to raise the water temperature to flush it out? We don't have a dam to let the water out of. But this is gonna save our fish, swimming up a river with no water and dying at the mouth of the river because we can't raise the water temperature. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Is there any other comments from the audience? Rex, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry I'm winging this, but Mr. Muir has done an excellent job. He's paid very highly for learning the bullet points that he's done, all of which virtually are untrue. We're 4 generations living just below Iron Gate Dam, before and after. One of the signs the gentleman was talking about was on our property. That's the knowledge that the people had and have asserted throughout this about the Klamath has now been proven through their own science, but you're not hearing about that science. It's not to go back to the history of Agenda 21, of Dr. Reed Nas, who located the Klamath, targeted for rewilding, for the Department of Interior being directed to carry out this rewilding project, and for DOI's secretaries of Interior prescribing one regional crisis after another that they've created in order to put us in this position. The facts is that this is if you go back, even the current KRC Council, every one of the people who are here are tied to the 26 original signatory members, starting with the Klamath Working Group, can be traced back to that, and all profiting or politically benefiting by virtue of the state that they have arrived at. And the ratepayers have not been represented at a single point in this. They claim that they have. They've never held a position at any of the tables that have been held in secret, as you well know. KHSA, it's the ratepayer decided that the ratepayers are the ones who are carrying all of the burden right now, the cost. Not just what you see on the power bill. A lot of the escalating power bill you've seen hide the many more millions of dollars of costs that you've paid for the Klamath interim KHSA monitoring agreements. Those agreements spent money, ratepayer money, over these years in order to implement the experiments and the studies, paying the actual signatories, many of the signatory members on these agreements, in order to do the monitoring. That science is now proving what the historical and historically documented and the regional multi-generational people have been saying about the Klamath and about the benefits the dams have created. They've now shown, those studies have now shown that salmon were never known in numbers up above Spencer Creek, which is what we asserted from the beginning. It is proving now has proved that the dams, the reservoirs, are the only water quality improvement that exists on the Upper Klamath region. They now know that Upper Klamath Lake has enough phosphorus within the top 1 inch of sediment alone to carry the algae cycles for the next 20 years by the National Research Council's own estimates, with hundreds of feet of sediment laden with historic, naturally indigenous phosphorus. Even if all agriculture was cut out from the upper basin, they would still have endless cycles of algae blooms in the upper region and the nutrients to transfer downstream. It's the hydro facilities that have been put in place that we experience the increased water quality at our location, dramatic, for the cold water species they're sanctioning now. Prior to that, the conditions were far more degraded. The floods did exist. We did have one of the reasons that the region, all of us, has supported Iron Gate as the last link of the chain is because the others weren't sufficient to mitigate or attenuate the damages caused by flooding. You say they aren't operated by it? We lived it. We experienced it. For 10 years after Iron Gate went in, it was lauded as one of the greatest achievements, improving the environment, the fisheries habitat, and sustainability of a naturally degraded region in the world that had been done. The Shell Corporation that's been set up, the problem is now, has no accountability. The one that he works for, KHSA, created it in order to make sure that no one was held liable for the damages that occur on the Klamath to the general population. They, through their agreement, have agreed to a few items with a definite limit on the economic basis. Why do they have to do that? Yreka City is one. They're assuring you you'll have water sustainability by their replacing the pipeline. The trouble is, once those dams come out, we now know that the Ceratomyxa shasta that he's talking about, its host is a polychaete, speciosa. They have a greater concentrations of that host at the mouth of the Williamson River than they do any place downstream. They also know that the conditions below Iron Gate, the river reach below Iron Gate, has the highest survivability of salmon of any other river reach down to the coastal influence. They also know now that through the experiments they've done, that you ratepayers have paid for, that there is no treatment. The treatment facility that they tried to build, an experimental up at Keno, failed. They can't economically or viably condition that water or alter those naturally endemic features. That means all of those nutrients that are held back and settle out through the reservoirs that are there that take over 2 months to transfer down will now be transported in 2 days directly down during the worst time of susceptibility to the salmon and the hottest temperatures and lowest water conditions at the time. They know all of this, but why haven't you heard any of that? Because they are not allowed. Governor Brown has issued an edict through his water crisis plan that all of his agencies will facilitate Klamath Dam's removals. So all of the talk that they're dealing with, looking into the research and that this isn't a done deal, it was a done deal as soon as he struck that pen. The Water Resources is doing the EIS. If they were looking at a beneficial project for the region, then why wouldn't they be looking at the information that's now available? Instead, they're applying to FERC, trying to convince FERC not to look at any scientific information other than the EISs they created up to the date of the signatures of the agreement. They're looking for the California Water Resources to review that EIS to make sure that there is no other conflict that can arise, but they are not looking at any new information or any new science in order to validate whether the old science, their old creation, is still correct. We've seen the corruption that's...
Wrap it up, please. That's okay.
I have 9 gigabytes of information
Yeah.
that can go back with their,
9 gigabytes?
with their studies, their own promotions that nullify every statement that Mr. Muir has made. The trouble is accountability. When all of this comes down, the dams are irreversibly destroyed. The storage is gone, the water quality that goes down. There is no accountability by the KRRC. No money will be available. And where will Mr. Muir be when you can talk to him?
Thank you, Rex. And just for your information, our Yreka water does not commingle with the Klamath. Just so you know, it comes from Fall Creek.
Well, I never finished that statement. The statement was because once it comes out, the Fall Creek water will be called for to mitigate the conditions that will ensue for a now habitat that's being implanted to the upper basin that never existed historically.
Thank you, Rex. Jerry, step down.
Yeah, Jerry Batchgalupi. I heard my name mentioned a couple times, so.
You're pretty famous around here,
Say
yeah.
something, so, Madam Mayor and council members. Anyway, I'm a civil engineer and I'm pretty familiar with the project. And what my terminology is, in listening to this presentation, you can't mix politics and common sense. And that's exactly what the problem here is on dam removal. And number one is, have they done a benefit cost analysis on removing the dams versus the benefits? No, they haven't. Have they considered alternatives with the dams in place? No, they haven't. We proposed, the Siskiyou Water Use Association proposed a tunnel bypass to bypass the 3 reservoirs here in California at a cost of $50 million compared to $250 million for the fish ladders. And it was sent into the Department of Interior and they analyzed it and the write-up on it was beautiful, better than I could have done. They did not select that or consider that because it meant the dams remained in place. So that's what I say, this is all baloney. I mean, I'm familiar with some of the game wardens around here that have been familiar with it. One of them came up to me and said, Jerry, I can't support your tunnel bypass. And I said, well, why is that? And he says, well, I can't support fish ladders either because there's no habitat above those reservoirs to warrant either. Talking to Fish and Game employees at the fish hatchery, they say that we cannot get rid of that fish hatchery. That fish hatchery has contributed so much to the coho salmon and the other fisheries in the river. So, what are they gonna do? They've talked about drilling wells. Well, right now, they have, they get their water from Iron Gate, and they have a 20-foot diversion out of the pond, 20-foot pipe that comes out, and a 70-foot down from the surface. So they commingle the water, get the right temperature. They have an irrigator in the way, so they get the right dissolved oxygen before it goes into the fish hatchery. What I've heard was that they're considering, the only way they could do it, they're talking about wells, there's no water up there for drilling wells. The only possibility they have, if they take the dams out, is Fall Creek water. So now, with that, are you gonna have recycled water coming here? I mean, that's a possibility down the way, you know, and I would say, you know, should not even consider any of that. As far as the dams, they provide enough power for 70,000 homes. Siskiyou County has 15,000 homes. They provide, and I don't know where these figures come from, but they provide a 25% reduction in flood conditions based on the 1964 flood hydrograph. And this is from the Division of Dam Safety. And also Division of Dam Safety has inspected those dams, they're in good condition. And the other alternative that they didn't consider is a 60,000 acre-foot reserved water right for Shasta Valley here, out of the Klamath River. What could be done is we could bring in that water, store that water, release clean water from Lake Shastina or the wells back down the river and meet the water quality. You think they've considered any of that? No. So that's why this presentation, I could stay here and talk all day about negatives on this presentation. But anyway, I think they ought to get their act together and tell the public the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other comments?
I have one.
Yes, want to step up to the podium, Louise? But who's going to film you?
I know, that's
Selfie.
I can't contribute anything to any of the science that everybody talked about. I just don't have the expertise, even though I belong to the water users. I hang out with these guys and I try to pick up what I can and understand. But what I would like to say tonight is to let the people in the audience know, and the council know, that I have called Wally Herger's office ever since I moved up here, and I called Ted Gaines' office ever since I moved up here. And every time I called, they had a staffer, Dave Muir, who would talk to me, and I would give Dave Muir my email address so that Dave could send me back things when I had questions. And in February, I got an email from Dave Muir contacting me, wanting to let me know that he is now working for KRRC, which is, in our estimation, in our opinion, the enemy, because they want to destroy our economy, they want to destroy our dams. Dave got my email because he worked for Ted Gaines. Ted Gaines is a government person, and I have that expectation that whenever I send an email to any of you or to my congressman, my senator, and my assemblyman, that my email is not shared, it doesn't leave that office, and Dave used my email and other people's email for the benefit of his company that he's working for. And I really object to that. Since that has happened, I have gotten so much spam. I don't know if my email got sold, but if it's not illegal, I think it's unethical. And so you need to know the ethics of the people in this company that work for this company and the people that work with them. That is totally wrong to share my email and take it with you when you go to a new employer. And that's the only thing I wanted to comment about. And I did confront Dave about that before the meeting, but I wanted everyone in this audience to know, so that if you've gotten an email from Dave, I called Ted Gaines' office and complained. And I talked to the staffer there, the legislative person in the Reading office. Her name is Doria. And I told her about that. She was shocked. She said she was surprised and disappointed at the bad judgment that Dave had shown by using my email for his new employer. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Any other comments?
Could I make one more?
Step up to the podium, please.
Yeah, Jerry Dutchcliff again. A couple things that, you know, like I said, I could go on. It was mentioned the dams don't have any storage. They have about 1/4 the storage of Upper Lake. And during a drought condition or a complete shut-off of the Klamath River, they have enough water to supply Fish and Game's minimum flow in the river for a 3-month period with reserves left over. So that's one thing. People say, hey, you know, the dams don't, they do have storage. The other thing is, the sediments contained behind those dams are 20 million cubic yards. And I calculated that out. If you assume the river is 150 feet wide and it's 190 miles long to the ocean, it amounts to 3 feet deep by 150 feet wide for 190 miles. They are saying it may decimate the river for 40 years. Is there anything about that? I mean, this goes on and on. And anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Any other comments?
I'd like to discuss something.
Okay, is it appropriate at this time to have council discussion? I know our attorney isn't here. I was kind of
Yeah.
wondering where he was. We could use him. Okay, yes.
You can have discussion, you can't take any action, and the discussion should be relatively
Right.
brief.
It's not yeah.
It is on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, but not for decision-making,
Right.
so, yes,
Well,
Councilmember.
the way I see it, we don't have any jurisdiction on the dams, whether they come out or stay or anything like that. Our major concern is protecting our water supply and making sure we're gonna get water that is not commingled with Klamath River water and that's protected from vandalism and destruction.
Right.
So what I see happening, there's a couple alternatives. One is legal action in the courts to try to, you know, make FERC's decision relevant to the community, because they're gonna make a decision, FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission,
Right.
or the possibility of Siskiyou County creating a public utility district and operating the dams and selling the power. I think that's an alternative that could be explored, but the KRRC, their only sole goal is to take out the dams.
Right.
And do some restoration, so they're, quote, the enemy, because they're gonna take them out, that's their goal. And there's no other means of discussing, so the decision really is up to FERC. It has nothing to do with the city. The county's put in their word trying to stop it. We've tried to see what we could do to stop it, but the decision is way beyond us. But those are the goals that I see, either a lawsuit or a public utility district to operate the dams, but they still have to get by the hurdle of whether they're gonna require a fish ladder or tunnel or trucking the fish, but those are the two opportunities I see for the future.
And it would still have to go through FERC.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments by council members? Okay, any other comments by members of the public? Well, Brian, yes. I'm gonna time you.
Brian Foster, 537 Evergreen. Here we are again, with a gun to our head. We're held hostage. This is reminiscent of negotiating an Indian casino that we now have, whether we wanted it or not. The only thing we could do was negotiate the best possible deal for our citizens. It was coming whether we wanted it or not. The dams are coming out, whether we want it or not. Oh yeah. Really?
Carry on with your thought.
Were we successful in stopping the casino?
No, you weren't.
No, we weren't. So it's coming whether we want it or not. And it is frustrating, and I don't know what to do about it. I didn't know what to do about it sitting up there. But at some point, we need to figure out what to do. We need to stop being held hostage by parties that do not live here, but want whatever we seem to have, whatever we take for granted up here. We need to find a way to fight. We need to stop. So, and this kind of ties into the next section regarding building codes. Oh my gosh, but I'll save my comments for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Steve Radford again, I'm sorry. Real quick, you mentioned the PUD. Yes, we have this petition going around for signatures to get it on the ballot for the people to vote for a publicly owned utility, 50C3. And we are going to eminent domain those dams. That's part of the action that we are trying to encourage people to step up for. Trinity County has done this. They own their own power, and 40 other counties in this United States, I guess, own their own power. We can do this. We need to take initiatives to go forward in taking care of ourselves and tell California to take a hike. They are corrupt. They're not our friends. Neither is the KRC or the Karooks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Could I add one thing?
Certainly step up.
This is really quick. Dave talked about this structure to bring in water, that he's going to supply this wonderful structure to the city of Yreka. Well, if I remember correctly, all those ranchers up in the Upper Klamath signed on to have their dams, to take the dams out in exchange for water. Well, that did not work out for them. None of them have water now. So this is what an agreement from these fellows could be. I wouldn't believe anything they said, especially if they're making an agreement with you.
Oh, no, we haven't signed any agreement.
Good.
Where's Switzerland? Yeah. Anyone else? Any other comments? And then we're going to get on with our agenda.
Just as an engineer now, and I'm familiar with the Division of Dam Safety requirements, they need to apply to the Division of Dam Safety and get an approval of their dam removal. Siskiyou County has the authority to require plans and approval. The city of Yreka has the same authority. Plans and approval. So.
The attorney then.
Yeah, we'll run that by our attorney. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, well, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I think we had really good feedback. We appreciate it. Thank you, Dave, for being here, and thank you, all of you, for giving us your opinions. For any of your information that are under the misconception that the city of Yreka has signed off on any agreements, we have not. We are working to protect our water, period. It does not commingle with the waters of the Klamath. Just so that, just wanted you all to be aware of that. It's totally different. So if no one else has a comment, then we'll go on to item number 6. Four. Are we on 4 now? Okay, all right, we're on item number 4.
I'm not gonna wait and let people leave
Okay.
without the structure.
Okay, thank you all for coming.
Please stay, though.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay. We're gonna be talking about some
Fun
interesting
stuff.
things
Yeah. Fun.
like conflict of interest codes and development standards and fiscal year funding. Yes.
You're pushing them out, Jody. Shut up.
I wanna leave, all that fascinating stuff.
Yes, for item 8 also.
Item 8.
What's item 8?
Oh, IT. Yeah, IT.
We have a guest here?
Thank you all for being here. We'll give you all a minute to leave, and then we're gonna start on item number 4.
Joan,
Yes.
protect your
That's right, that's right. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, one and all. We appreciate your input. And thank you all for being courteous. I certainly appreciate that. I should have said that.
I'm gonna do
It
a
was very
bathroom break.
nice. I know.
I'm gonna do a bathroom break.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Is that all right?
Yeah, okay.
Which is discussion, possible action. Direct city manager to review the City of Yreka Conflict of Interest Code as required by the California Government Code Section 87306.5.
Yeah, every 2 years we gotta do this.
I know.
So, what does this, there you go.
There, yeah. First,
Yeah.
we need a motion. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we're not making any changes at this time.
Actually, what happens is that you're directing me to review that. And so we will review to see whether there's any need for changes and bring them back. Every once in a while, there are positions that have changed over time that either should no longer be a conflict of interest or should be on the list for reporting.
Yeah, there's a couple there that I had a question about, but I think
Yeah.
right now, it's our purview to have a motion to direct staff.
Yeah, I'll make a motion
Okay.
that the council directs the city manager to review the city's conflict of interest code and report back to council by its regular meeting on September 6, 2018 for any recommended changes or modifications.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, the recommended motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we already did item number 5, so we're on to item number 6. I believe this is Dwayne Kegg's,
Yes.
Councilmember Kegg. Discussion possible action. Discussion of development standards, possible scheduling of a workshop. Councilmember Kegg.
Well, I brought this to the council's attention. I want to bring this to the council's attention. Just certain codes that we have in our city and how it impacts our construction of our city. And we need to just address these and look at these codes and regulations that we need to change them, actually, possibly, hopefully, and just direct that, just give an idea to the council of these things. I'm gonna do a brief thing here, a little brief thing. If people want to follow me, they can. I have that here. Start off.
Are you passing that around? or-
Yeah, if you're gonna pass it
Yep.
around, go ahead.
You can follow it.
Usually that's in our packet, but
Yep,
it's
I
not in
didn't-
our packet.
Nope, I just brought it.
Alrighty, thank you.
So I'm gonna start off with it right here. Since 2007, the state of California has implemented many new building standards that the citizens never voted on. Some of these standards are non-flammable siding, tempered glass windows, fire suppression sprinkler systems, ground fault circuit interpreter electrical panels, heavier insulation requirements. The newest mandate requires mandatory solar panels on all new construction starting in 2020. This has increased the cost of new home build in California by a minimum of $25,000 to $30,000. Keep in mind that this is in addition to the large permitting fees, school taxes, and the list goes on and on. The need to look at our city and what we require. Right now, the city is, if you do $20,000 or more permitted work in your home, you are required to put sidewalks in, if currently not existing, and if you are more than 200 feet past a light pole, you have to put a light pole in as well. Keep in mind, the light poles cost about $6,000, and the homeowner's paying for it, but they don't own it. One of the things that I want to use as an example too, on this before I go on to some of these proposed changes, we need to look at on this $20,000 that can implement these sidewalks and all these other things. If you have, like I usually like to use this as an example. I have previously to other people. I have a little old lady that's handicapped. She's getting in the age and she can't get around anymore. Her bathroom needs to be remodeled so she can function in her own bathroom. She has a bathtub, she can't step up into her bathtub anymore. She needs to remodel that bathroom. And for you those that are in the construction industry, that $20,000 is gonna get eaten up real quick in a bathroom remodel this day and age. The construction costs are going through the roof anymore. Labor's going through the roof, everything's going up higher, so that $20,000 now is just way higher than that for even a bathroom remodel. So now, this little old lady went to do her bathroom remodel. She gets a contractor involved, goes to it, finds out, oh, we need to pull a permit for this. Okay, pull a permit for it. Oh, it's gonna be $20,000. Oh, now guess what? You don't have sidewalks in front of your house. Oh, now you have to buy the sidewalks, pay for sidewalks. Oh, you know what? Your last light pole is now 250 feet away from there. You're gonna have to put a light pole in. Well, that's under $6,000. Well, now this little old lady cannot do her bathroom remodel anymore. She now can't afford it. She, 6 months later, slips and falls, breaks her hip, ends up in an old folks home. So these are things we need to address, as a city. These are just a few little things we need to address as a city that needs to be changed. These are very important. One of the things I have on here, we need to change permitted cost of baseline from $20,000 to $60,000. With the increased cost of construction, $20,000 is no longer a reasonable baseline. The current base.
Could I ask, when was the last time that 20,000?
I don't know, that was gonna be one of my questions tonight.
It's been a while back, but we can look into when that was.
Yeah, can I talk?
Certainly.
I think it would be wise to have some inflation type adjustments,
Right.
depending on when things were enacted, stuff
Right.
like that, but I'm against just not requiring sidewalks. It was about 30 years ago, I was in a wheelchair for 4 months, and I got around the city in a wheelchair, and I came across curbs I couldn't get over, stuff like that. And that was before they passed the American with Disabilities Act. That was a couple of years before that. So we did make a lot of changes in Mountain View to help people with disabilities, and that's the reason I think there's
Oh, no,
sidewalks.
I
So
totally
mean,
understand
there
on the
has
whole.
to be some reasonable balance there. I'm saying we cannot eliminate the requirement in full, but that there could be some mitigating conditions
definitely
depending on
need
the
to.
amount of
So let me
work.
finish at least through this
Yeah,
before we
it's a
go and
state
need more
law.
comments,
Right.
please.
It's a state law, not a.
No, I realize that.
Okay.
There's options.
The current baseline discourages small home improvement projects and encourages work without proper permits. Because a lot of people, when they find out that they have to pull a permit and they're gonna have to do these other improvements, just totally don't pull a permit and they just go ahead and do it and without the permission, which it happens all the time, whether, the city wants to believe it or not, I see it all the time. There's also a percentage baselines on garages and other things that Matt can inform us on, those sort of things that need to be addressed on that. Lighting in a residential area should not be the responsibility of a homeowner, but the responsibility of the city. This is, I feel, is infrastructure and not the citizens' obligation. Not a home improvement project. This change would exclude developments of 3 or more homes and commercial developments. Repairs pre-existing to driveways, sidewalks should not be required to meet state codes and requirements. For example, a homeowner wants to repair their driveway, as long as they're maintaining the original footprint of the design, should not be required to meet the new state codes and requirements. 4, homeowners should never be responsible for infrastructure improvements such as continuing water lines and sewer lines. Their responsibility is to hook up to the city lines and repair the damage that they have done to the road and curb and sidewalk. This change would exclude development, again, of 3 or more homes or commercial developments. We need to bring back the 50% discount waiver on the impact fees. Now that we're coming out of a housing crash, the discount would encourage new construction. This would need to be publicized so that the public knows its availability.
We haven't changed that. That's still 50%.
Is it good?
We're still 50.
Yeah, it hasn't been changed to my knowledge. I haven't voted to change it. Have any
It
of
has
you?
not been changed.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, can I talk?
Sure.
Yes,
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see us have a workshop to discuss this, but what needs to be done is we need to have the state law, so we can compare the state law versus the city codes. We also have to have the city attorney present to
Right.
make sure that we are following the law.
Right.
So that's the concerns I have.
Right. Yeah, and this is the first that I've seen of
Right.
this, so I would feel comfortable. And the idea to have a workshop where we could really flesh some of
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff out
I-
and have our attorney present and make sure that
Mhm.
our staff has the state law so that we can, well, as Norm says, we can't break the state law. I mean, I know that there were people here tonight that
Yeah,
think
so we want-
that we're already in the state of Jefferson, but right now we're in the state of California.
Yeah.
So we still have to.
And Madam Mayor, I would like to let some of the audience speak on this
I was
too.
going to ask if there are
Yes,
comments.
please.
Do we have comments from the audience?
I have one more comment.
And I'd like to say something too.
Oh,
One more
okay.
comment.
Pardon?
Well, I didn't get the resolution, so it would be nice also to get the statistics on when what year the $20,000 figure was, and what the inflation was over the years from that
Yeah.
point to now.
Right.
Because that might dictate
Yeah.
your top end fee, or at least that gives you more
Yes.
data.
Yeah, I like that. That's
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Yes, Bill.
I'm Bill Schmidt. I live at 8721 Highway 96. I'm doing a project here in Yreka. Years ago, I started a lot split. I acquired a piece of property. I already had a temporary parcel map on it. I got it going when Steve Neal was here. And it was all done. We jumped through all his hoops. The plans were done, except he didn't sign it before he retired. New administration came in. That set of plans was filed 13th. We jumped through more hoops, but a big cost, a whole lot more than what Steve had hit me with for plan check. And the difference between those two sets of plans in sidewalks, retention pond, piping, extra curb and gutters off my property. With the sidewalks, and his plans were 4 foot. These new plans, 5 foot, 10 foot in the driveways. It came up to just the extra cost, not the whole cost of the project. The cost between the two sets of plans is over $30,000 worth. I feel since those plans are ready to be signed by Steve Neal, your engineer, it should have been grandfathered in. They should go back to that set of plans. I can break all the costs now, but that just take extra time.
And we can't make any decisions.
Well, we can't make decisions on this anyway. We're just listening to your comment. Thank you, Bill.
Okay? And since these houses were built in the city in about 1930, 1940, and I just picked them up and moved them from one parcel to the other, I would like to have the future impact fees waived. Because basically they're not impacting any more than they were before. And, you know, if I can't get any help here, I don't know, my costs are just getting way out of hand. I can't keep up with it. You know, that future impact fee, that should be just about the foundation for the two houses I got. I was going for 3. The third one wasn't worth moving. I got squeezed for time and stuff, so I got 2. I saved 2 for us. And I think it's gonna help the city by keeping those houses in a working condition. Now, your taxes and stuff are gonna be up, you're gonna make revenue off of them, you're gonna sell water to them, get a sewage fee and all that. That's where I'm at. I need your help.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments.
I want to add to that just a little briefly too, that, you know, we are in a major housing shortage of affordable housing, those two houses would be houses that people could rent, buy, whatever, that are affordable housing, which we have a major shortage of right now in this town. And because of the state of California implementing so many laws and regulations that they just drop on us without our consent, it's gone pretty much past the point where most people can't afford in this town building houses of a low-income housing of some sort.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So I'd like to make a comment also. If we could perhaps ask the city attorney this question, and that is that if the first set of plans that, and I don't know what the timing was, so if I listen to this gentleman the way it sounds like if they were done, they were waiting for us to sign off. If that's actually the case, then I'd like to ask the question to the city attorney. The question to the city attorney would be, can we go backwards on that because it was on us? If that's not exactly the timing of the events, that's a different story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
ask the attorney then.
Can I speak a bit more?
Just briefly, you got three,
Okay.
well, I had 3 minutes earlier, I'll give you 5, but you already took 3. So you got 2 more.
Yes, if he'd have signed them, I would've probably started working on them, starting on the street stuff. Because at that time, back at that time, the houses weren't ready to go.
That's not what I'm asking, and I understand we shouldn't be going back and forth, so.
No, we
shouldn't.
What I'm asking, the staff, so that you kind of understand, but I don't wanna have a discussion with you, I'll just repeat this, is that if it was ready to be signed by the city and we sat on it, that's what I'm asking, if we can now remedy that aspect of it.
I understand.
Okay. all right,
I do
thank you.
have a set of copies of prints that has his signature block ready for him to sign.
Okay,
Of course,
thank you.
it's all marked up from,
Thank you, we're not
from
gonna go,
Pace.
we're not gonna go back and forth, but we will look
No.
into it, I
Yeah.
promise you. We
If
will
he
look
wants to
into
see
it.
him, I can show him to him.
Okay, thank you. Yes. He's back.
This time number 4.
Just can't stay away.
I really can't. Brian Foster, 537 Evergreen. I am a local contractor. I do bathrooms, but that's kind of irrelevant as far as some of this stuff goes. Generally speaking, in my line of work, I don't have any trouble with the city, but every once in a while, we run into certain headaches. Typically, the city is, Matt, Ben, are very easy to work with, generally speaking. And I understand their hands are tied because rules, policies, planning, such and such. I have noticed over the years, since we have had staff changes at the city regarding the planning department, things have gotten a lot easier. We don't have people jumping over the counters to grab
Not lately.
staff members. It actually generally goes pretty good. But there is room for improvement. There's gotta be a way to, again, take control of our local community. I do understand with the building code, with California law, there are a lot of safety concerns, there are energy concerns, there are whatever, water, irrigation. But there have been times when we have been able to opt out or
Work it out.
work it out, yes, especially regarding irrigation, because our water situation is different than the rest of California. We're kind of an odd nut up here, so, which is beneficial for us. But, like, I personally have a situation, and I've been deterred from doing this project to improve the, what is it, the street look of my house, kind of the functionality of my house, because of the certain requirements regarding sidewalks. I have talked with Matt about it. I have not spoken with Ben about it to have him come by, but mostly because I can't seem to find a way around this. And I understand where the city's coming from, but this doesn't make any sense. I wanna repair my driveway, I wanna fix it. But I don't see a point in putting in the sidewalks and taking out my bushes and, taking away 5 feet of my front yard and 10 feet of my driveway. And my driveway's only 25 feet long. So, it does a whole bunch of things. So, I do know we have a means through variances. I don't know if it would apply in this case, but maybe there's just some of these rules we need to look at through a workshop to see if we can't make them go away. See if they're really beneficial to our community as a whole. And, you know, we're not Mountain View. No offense to Councilman Chasky. I went through this too. I grew up in Grass Valley, and it's like, you wanna kind of relive your experiences from where you grew up, but this isn't either one of those places. We're different. But on another note, Dwayne brings up a very good point. We're in a housing shortage. Houses are selling in 2 days or less. There, Georgia Way, 3 houses gone in 1 week. They are flying off the shelves, so to speak. We have an opportunity here to assist new construction to fill this housing shortage that we have. We've had 2 new homes built, no, 2 homes, 4 homes
4 homes in 5 years.
5 years. 5 years. I think it's time for some new construction.
One of them was the year that we eliminated all fees, remember that?
Yeah, and
One, only
Brian
one.
Kishi took that
Just
one, so
one.
just the one.
There were 2? Oh, excuse me, 2.
Oh, was it
Twice
two?
as many.
But-
Twice as many.
Twice as many.
Twice as many,
That's right.
wow!
Do I know math?
So, I think it would be worthwhile to do a workshop, get as many contractors as we can there, and see what we can do. See, you know, with the attorney, of course, what can we do as a city to improve our building situation? So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Okay, anyone else? Any other comments? Because I think, oh, your time's up, Brian.
Oh.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
He's done.
You didn't go till the end.
I can get up.
That's
No, you
okay.
can't.
Okay.
Now, I'm Steve Young, now I live on 512 Discovery, not the
Oh,
Klamath River.
good job.
Yeah.
You moved fast.
That's right. And in our neighborhood, houses don't sell fast because we live on Park Place. Costs a little bit more to have.
Right.
Anyway, I would recommend on the sidewalk deal that the city take that on only because of standards. You start letting people start building their section, and then you look down the sidewalk, and you're gonna have all different colors, you're gonna have all different finishes. It's gonna look bad. It'll look worse than leaving it like it is. So I think that maybe through an amendment or something that you could get rid of the sidewalk part of the owner's responsibility until a good plan is set up for consistency. I think it would add value to the properties. But that's not what I'm here for, but I thought I'd throw that in as a sales pitch. I have no problem building with this city. I've only did one structure last year. It was a structural steel patio deck, which your building inspector has never seen before. It's just concrete, steel deck, and structural steel, and it's there to stay. The house can burn down and it'll still stand. But anyway, I have no problem with it. You guys have been great. The city, everything's been great for me. The only thing I would recommend that you do in your local building codes is put in 15% structural steel requirements on all wood structures, because the big one's coming. And without structural steel, the buildings just don't hold up. So, anyway.
And you
because-
built a great steel door for us.
Yes.
Yes,
Liberty
the
Yards.
homeless
At
have
Liberty
not
Yards.
penetrated.
They
yet.
can't get through, not even with a tank.
And you realize to compensate that funding, you can still institute cat licensing. Make everybody who owns a cat, gotta license it, because my dogs have to go to a certified vet and get their shots, so I can reinstate my dog license. So, anyway, and then, there was one other, as, you know, when you get old, you gotta stay on script.
Yes.
And it's gone. Anyway.
Gotta hold on to
And
it.
thank you very much. Oh,
Thank you,
that's
Steve.
it. This is why. Too much government regulation is killing industries. I have a $1,200 annual LA City approved license that I'm my own inspector, but I had to take tests to do it. I have to go out and pay $600 to the commie of this state just to bid my own fire station, which I couldn't bid because I'm not registered. I didn't pay the 600 and my number was low, but your local guy couldn't build locally because he has to comply, he or she, Barry's in on it, he or she has to comply with government regulations. Why do we pay a fee to bid on government jobs? Either you're qualified to do it or you're not. But that's another reason why, you know, we're moving the shop to Nevada, because
Sorry to hear that.
it's too hard here, and it's not your fault. But when you take on government subsidies, you also take on their requirements. And that's what locks, and then everybody else, because to me, the customer will pay for it. That's how we always do it. The customer always pays for it. Doesn't matter what gas is, doesn't matter what steel is, we just pass it on, and the end user's gotta do it. Look, I know how to swim.
Thank you.
What's a
Thank you,
bust?
Steve.
Anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you for your,
Ding-a-ling.
thank you for your input.
2 minutes for.
So did you want to
Thank
set
you.
up
Are
a
there
workshop then?
So-
anyone else with a comment? We got, no?
Yes.
Oh, come on down, Harry.
Don't be shy.
Haven't seen you for a while. Hi. Come down, state your name, where you live, if you're comfortable
Sure.
with that.
My name's Sarah Shannon, I live in, my zip code's Yreka.
There you go.
And I went from building the most expensive houses in the area to building the cheapest. I went from Siskiyou Log Homes, and my business went to Sisters, Oregon. And that's another story. But right now I'm working for Habitat and Hospice and Area Council on Aging, and that's about it. But we're building what people can afford. And one of the problems with doing the solar, which I think is a wonderful idea, is that would price most of our houses out of our recipients' abilities. And that's kind of where we are. We're currently building 5 houses in Weed, and sure like to start back up here.
Why did you go to Weed? What made the decision to
The
build in
Bowles fire.
Weed? Oh,
It's the
okay.
Bowles fire and,
Okay.
more need.
And the need, you know, and there's some up here in north of town. There's a couple that burned down, and they're on the list.
Fire.
But we work with total volunteers. There are some paid professionals. I am a licensed contractor. I don't get paid. But in the meantime, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Harry.
And we need to, the reason for addressing you is because somewhere you guys can say something upstairs where I can't. So, thanks.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
All right.
Yes, sir, come on down. State your name and where you live, if you're comfortable.
My name's Tyler Evans. I live up Schulmeyer, and I'm a local contractor.
Hi, Tyler, your wife's been in here.
Yeah.
Amy,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, I would just wanted to give Dwayne some support for, anything we can do locally to make it easier to build for commercial and residential, because I've I've lost projects for commercial and residential due to impact fees. You know, whether it's 100 feet of sidewalk, 1,000 feet of sidewalk, and street lights, and extending sewer and water mains, it can double the cost of a project in a heartbeat. So we have lost, you know, potential employers coming to town over it not being that friendly to, just hard to get a permit. And I know some of it is trying to work off the city of Reading specs, but we're a long ways from the city of Reading.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, anything you guys can do to help out the little guys would be great.
So you're
Thank you.
interested in being involved in the workshop, huh?
I'd probably go.
There you go, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
That'd be great, thank you, Tyler. Anyone else? Okay, well, it looks like, or it sounds to me like there's a lot of interest in
Yes.
having a workshop. And so, I don't think, is this on for action? I don't think it
Yes.
is. Let's see.
Possible
Discussion,
schedule.
possible action. So scheduling, a workshop. Wayne, can we give this to you and to Steve and Matt to schedule a time for
Yeah.
a workshop?
Okay, that'd be great. Definitely
Okay.
extend this out and do the next steps. I think we
Okay.
definitely need to address these situations.
Do we need
We
a
gotta make
motion?
sure the city attorney can attend.
Yes. Do we need a motion for that?
Not yet.
I'll make
a motion.
No. Just say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, I do have a question though. Would it
Okay.
be beneficial to have an ad hoc committee instead so that it speeds? Nope, okay, never mind.
An ad hoc committee is totally different. An ad hoc committee makes decisions without the council, and we can't have that.
Oh, okay.
No, no, no. An ad hoc committee,
Can make
This is-
decisions, okay.
yeah.
I didn't
I think
realize
that it's a good idea to have a workshop, to flesh it out, see what you want. Bring it back to council. We definitely want our city attorney involved in it, as well as our staff.
Definitely.
That's the way I feel. How about you guys?
Fine.
Yep.
Rob, are you here?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, all righty, so you're gonna go forward and do that, that's great. Okay, so we're on item number 7, which is discussion possible action, adopt resolution, adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 2018-19 funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act.
Madam Mayor and members of council.
Yes.
You may recall about this time last year, an extremely similar resolution. These are the RMRA funds through the SB1 funding we utilized for chip sealing last year.
Right.
And we have, we need council to set by resolution. We have a list of projects and we purposefully leave it somewhat vague for the processing of this type of funding. So it's stated on the second page is the 2018 strategic paving preventative and planning.
Right.
Chip sealing of approximately 15,000 linear feet of city streets to maintain a good condition for an estimated life of 15 years. Construction in 18. And then underneath that umbrella, we have a priority list that makes up this statement. So this is, it's a very good thing.
Okay.
It's SB1 and it's 129,145.
You bet. It's more money than we've had for a while. Any questions?
No.
No? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 2018-19 funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, item number 8, discussion possible action, adopt resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an information technology professional services agreement with Acme Computer of Yreka. I have a feeling that's you. You have been very patient. Thank you for your patience. If you had said something, I would have moved it up. Thank you for being here. So Retta, is this you?
It is. So I wanted to, and I'm gonna ask Kel to speak a little bit about some of that nice things happening in Yreka, just briefly when we were at another meeting on economic development and
Does
drivers.
that have anything to do with what I've been seeing people pulling all kinds of wire all over town? That's exciting.
So, if, I could be at liberty to have him like tell us a little bit about what's happening on that, and then I'll go a little bit into the contract details, because once he explains it, I think that'll make understanding the contract a little easier too. So
Okay.
Kel, if you
Great.
could.
Come on
kinda
up
tell
to
us
the
what's,
podium, please.
happening with Acme and Hunter.
Since you're scheduled, I won't time you.
Please time me. My name is Cale Weston. I'm the CEO of Acme Computer. Acme Computer opened our doors in 2004. We moved our headquarters to Yreka, I believe, in 2010, and with the city's help and the EDC's help, we took over the old NorCal / EDC
That's
building.
great.
And essentially what we're doing is we have built out, and we have offices in Medford and in Redding and in Roseville, California, and down in Long Beach, California. And what we've done is we've built out what's called a metropolitan area network. And essentially we connect areas with fiber that does not go out over the internet. So it's a direct connection. And what we're doing specifically here in Yreka is we are in the process of connecting all of the city locations. So Public Works, City Hall, the fire department, the police department, and then of course the new police department, all with fiber. And it's what
Excellent.
yeah, it's what we call dark fiber, so it can be scaled up to 10 gigs. So massive amounts of data. And what that allows us to do is to really, for the first time, share all the IT assets across the entire city. So we're really combining the networks for the city and for the Yreka Police Department.
Excellent.
It also allows us to really concentrate all of those assets in a single location, but deploy them in many other areas. So for example, right now we have cameras in the plaza for the first time, and then also permanent cameras in Minor Street Park as well. And I was just
Great.
working with the new chief, and I showed him some clips, and we're gonna do a more formal presentation for him later this week. But really the idea is to take the current assets of the city, by that I mean people really, and extend them much farther than you could in a car or just by walking. And so, for example, we're working with the chief to design the new dispatch center, the new police department, and of course there'll be a huge big bank of televisions, and dispatchers themselves will be able to sit and watch across the entire city, whole sections of the city. And obviously the idea is to prevent problems, but this will help resolve them and follow people as they move through the
I
city.
am really happy to hear that, because how many years ago? 2 years ago, we approved 3 cameras. That was all we could afford at the time, and now I am thrilled to hear that there's going to be cameras for police, for security, for safety for all the citizens. I think
Actually,
that's
Madam
great.
Mayor, we approved those cameras as a,
Pilot program?
as a pilot program.
Yeah, yeah.
And, and then, I'm not quite sure, you know, I mean, I thought we were gonna get a lot more cameras
So
after
did I.
that.
So did I.
So-
And now we do.
And so we're working directly with the police department, but
Great.
again, we can put the electronics that run those cameras in a single location, but we can really deploy them anywhere across this entire network.
Awesome.
And and this is the first part of a larger IT infrastructure or fiber infrastructure that we have in mind for the city of Yreka. And we're working with other ISPs and trying to bring them in, and we're working with the, I can never remember the acronym, but it's the GIS. Thank you. Yeah, with the GIS out of Chico,
Yeah.
and with the EDC,
Yes.
and trying to put together some money for a plan that would help extend fiber to really
Excellent.
every building in Yreka.
Excellent.
And the way we see Yreka is that, especially within Siskiyou County, it really has, the topography is superior, it's relatively flat, there's lots of land available, the weather allows for things like pole attachments, where in the southern part of the county, that's much more problematic because of the snow, and of course I-5 going right through the middle of town. So we really see fiber as an extension of that. It's like the highway projects after World War II. We're really extending the ability of towns like Yreka to really compete and to, you know, invite industry here as well.
Where's your funding coming from for this?
Well, we're self-funded, and we
He's
just
got,
do
he's
big
got offices
projects.
in Long Beach.
Say no more.
Well, and of course, so we do really focus on government agencies, schools, hospitals. We're doing a great big new civic center for the city of Phoenix up in Oregon. There's a new STEM center that we've helped design for the St. Mary's High School up in Medford. And we're working on a big
Great.
project for the city of Alameda by San Francisco, on a big wireless program that puts cameras across one of their major corridors so the police can watch and help direct traffic. So we're involved in a lot of those, but of course our headquarters is here. So.
And we're happy that you're here.
Oh, thanks.
I know that the cities in the South County are desperately seeking fiber and, you know, they're working on broadband and things like that. And we are so fortunate that we have you here.
Well, thank you, yeah. And so really what we've done in this that's before you now is we've taken our contract that we've had with the city since about 2004. And then we've brought the police in because they were using a different company. And then on top of that, again, we've combined all those with a big a fiber network that connects all of the city properties back to our data center. And so at our data center at the old EDC/NorCal building, we have AT&T, we have CalOR, we have Hunter, and hopefully Northland soon, so that anybody attached to it can easily buy major amounts of bandwidth much cheaper than you can now.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow. We're almost catching up with Chico. My son has a business down there.
We're ahead of Chico on some of the fiber stuff.
Oh.
Fiber's cheaper
Really?
here than it is in Chico.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
Not for Mr. Weston, but I have questions regarding this.
Okay. Thank you, and
Thanks.
thank you for your patience
Oh, of course,
tonight.
yeah.
This is huge. I'm glad you stayed.
Yeah, I'll answer any more questions you have.
Okay, great, thank you. Retta? Or Rob? Councilmember Pacheco? Do you have a question of her, or you wanna wait until you hear her presentation?
Well, it's just a general question, I suppose, it's regarding this says that the fiscal impact is $78.92 per month. What was the prior amount? And Mr. Weston, I should preface this by, I have nothing against you, I really am glad that you're in Yreka. I'm just doing due diligence, okay, so don't take this personally.
He's the money geek.
It's the,
Retta,
yeah, I'm
same
a
to you,
money
Retta.
geek.
Well, so to answer that, the computer logistics with YPD was about $2,200 a month. So we're folding that in. Prior to that, we had a services agreement with Hackney for about $3,600 a month. So that's aggregated. And then we paid CalOR for all our
5,800.
data lines, and that was another $2,000 for our
Okay.
point data lines.
So it's
So we're
20
getting a bundled
So it's pretty,
package.
a bundle
2,200
package for almost the
YPD.
same amount.
Right, but.
What was the 3,600? Was that for the rest of the buildings? You said YPD was 2,200, 2,000 was
$3,600 was for just I shouldn't say just, the IT support and maintenance, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
about
That's right.
2,200 was for our CalOR data lines.
Okay,
So it's approximately the same amount.
Right.
Yeah.
but it's
We
fine.
worked really hard
better-
for that.
better
But
service.
more integrated
Right,
services,
And
much more bandwidth.
And the contract's for 3 years, 36 months.
It's actually a little cheaper.
And so it
Yeah.
would start as of our approval tonight,
It would start July 1st.
July 1st, okay.
Oh, come on, we wanted to start June 1st.
So here's my other question, so we have a cost certain, but I don't see the cost certain in this resolution.
We can put it in there.
I think it needs to be in here, I mean, I never saw a dollar figure in the resolution.
There's just the liability in the back, I didn't see it either. Can we put that in here? Where would you put it?
If you, are we talking about is this
The
rather
cost.
just I know, but if you put the cost and hard code it into the resolution and there's provisions in the contract that are different than that in terms of increases in the future, then we may have to come back to you.
That's fine.
We wouldn't otherwise do that.
Well, you can't have a blanket, this is blanket. This doesn't say anything, I mean,
We
well,
could say
in
up
terms of the cost.
up to a certain amount, then if it increases, then come back. I don't see any problem with that, we could make the up to a little higher.
Where
Red is
Well,
normal.
it's on page 4 of the contract
you.
under
That's
5.1.
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, 5.1, payment for work, there you go.
Okay, so you can incorporate
There it
this
is.
by reference if you want in the resolution.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Or you can just
Yeah, there it is.
lift that amount
58.92.
and put it in the resolution.
Well, there's also reimbursable expenses too that
Yes.
go beyond the contract total, so
So by reference?
it would have to be referenced to the contract.
Reference to the contract would be
Okay.
fine, because there just needs to be something, because the resolution alone.
Okay, where would we put that? Section 1?
Section 2.
Section 2? Reference to the,
Agreement that is attached here to and incorporated herein.
Incorporated by reference.
So section 2 would include that? Okay.
incorporated by reference, okay. Okay, any other discussion on that?
I'm happy.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Attached here to is Exhibit A.
Brett, are you done with your presentation then?
I just wanted to,
We like it.
Yes?
okay,
Can you
I'll
tell?
stop then.
Okay. We like it.
You like it a lot.
She's like, oh wait, that
And
never
I saw
happens.
that EDC was here supporting you tonight too for a while.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion that we adopt the resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an information technology professional services agreement with Acme Computer of Yreka, California, and with the amendment to section 2, which incorporates the attached specific agreement by reference.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Great, good doing business with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's great.
And we have Rita.
Good job. Now, yes, item number 9, hold on. Item number 9, discussion possible action, approval of the City of Yreka 2017-2018 operating budget revisions. So
Yeah,
this
they were
is our
hefty.
current budget up
Hefty,
till,
hefty, hefty.
is it up till July 1st or June 30th?
June 30th.
June 30th.
June 30th.
Okay.
So this, I am just so excited with this fiber coming in.
Isn't it?
I don't, this
This
has
is
just
the
like
best
been
in
a
the
dream
whole-
of mine, along with the
This is the
asset
best.
management GIS and all of this, because this is so interwoven.
It's
I mean, those
exciting.
people living, I'm sorry, I'm just so excited, those people living in the Bay Area in 400 square foot apartments paying, $3,000 a month can telecommute from here.
Right.
It could have future impacts for us.
Right.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and I tell you what, there are other areas in our county that would, I don't want to say the word kill, for it, but I think they would give their left arm for it, how's
Yeah,
that?
they'd get a lot.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful opportunity for our
Well,
city.
the lefties might give their right arm for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but anyway, so I digress, but it's nice to see some
It's
things
exciting.
kind of starting to fall into place that take a lot of
Very
planning.
exciting.
But what you have before you right now is the budget revisions, and, basically just tried to summarize kind of all the, actions that have been taken through the year. Primary reason I like to, summarize it is that there's transparency and all the account number changes and things like that within the budget by fund. Because as we say, say supplemental appropriation or this or that, it's kind of hard at the end of the year or getting close to the end of the year of recapping all those by actual line item detail. So, hopefully I know it's kind of a detailed read, but, hopefully this kind of, and it also helps me, coming into year end, assess those variances from our original budget to our operating budget, for those changes. But if there's specific questions, I'd be more than
Well,
happy
it
to
looks to
answer.
me like it's the overall, increase of 205,105.62 for everything. It's on this piece of paper, right? That's what I was looking for, what's the total? And I wanted to make sure that this is accounted for, that it's in the budget, it's not in the budget, it's increasing the budget.
Yeah.
And you're a CPA, so you
Yeah.
can tell us.
Well, we've already approved all of these line items.
Right.
In the past, ever since back going to July 1st. So what it's doing is just catching up the budget so we can compare the final revised budget And no, you know, Rhoda can bring us examples in what we're over, under, but until you get all these things in the proper places, we need to make this revision, and she will have some more revisions with the end of the year coming up in the next month and a half. But this will get it started, a good start on getting to the final for the year.
And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but this amount of increase, decrease for a $2 million budget is really not bad.
Well, it's not that. The revenue went up $1,385,000 and expenses went up $1,910,000. So the
difference.
the revenue, there's a difference of a little over 400,000.
So that's way better to me.
Expenses. The 205 is just a transfer between categories. So that's not an increase in revenue or expense.
So it's 400, and I don't see that on here.
Yeah, this is an exact, well,
Well, you've got the revenue and then you
You gotta
got the
take this and
expense. You
this.
just take
Okay.
the difference and it's about 425,000.
Okay.
But these, everything we've approved in there, if you go through each of the line items, there's 22 line items we approved on expenses, and we approved 5 line items on revenue, and then we've got the government transfers.
well, and when we were talking about,
that's
ringing
CalPERS.
pool and
Yeah.
whatnot, and splash, that's what I was getting at, is
Right.
that some of this might be less.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Some of that could be less,
That's
yes.
true.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Norm, for
Thank you, Norm.
clarifying.
Well, I would make a motion that we approve the City of Yreka 2017-2018 operating budget revisions.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, excuse me, which is totally appropriate for the members of our budget committee, so thank you for the motion and the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Retta. And Norm. And Debbie. Okay, so I think that we're coming to the last item on the agenda now. That was item number 9. Item number 10 is discussion, possible action, acceptance of treasurer's report and budget to actual for the month of April 2018. Retta?
So this is just a, treasurer's report reflecting
There's
change.
nothing in here
Mine is.
for number 10.
Oh, mine is.
Mine is too.
Is it this? I think it just got put
No,
ahead of it.
that was a test to see if you opened your binder.
You
You
failed.
think I can actually see all these little things?
Here,
Okay.
just go ahead and put your name on it.
There we go.
You got it on the computer.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to call one quick thing out on here, and that's about, on the treasurer's report, to the city council. There's, probably about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, maybe about the, 13th line item with counting really fast, but you can see YPD donated team fund. That's where we were looking at possibly using some of those funds
Okay.
to help with
okay.
the,
Which item is that? Oh, YPD.
Right.
YPD
Right.
donated
Yes,
fund.
because the
team
YPD
fund.
is
Right. It's
off
got $4,500
in
in
the
it.
community with the,
You finding this?
Yeah, right there.
students often, and so
Right there.
they've got great opportunity to engage.
You're on
Did I
the
get
wrong
this in
side.
my
You
packet?
didn't get one.
Very-
So we didn't give the mayor anything, and then we had another councilman who just scrambled it
These
up.
2 pages here.
That's why I like having
At the
these
very end.
computers.
I was
You
gonna
can just
say.
thumb right
Okay,
through
hold
it.
on, I'll just go whip through this.
Oh, that was very tricky.
That was. Buried it.
You got it.
But,
We're together now, everyone has the same
Yes.
document, okay.
I do.
And we really didn't do that on
Maybe.
purpose.
Look how thin mine is compared to that book.
Okay, I'm looking. I got it here. Okay, go on.
so that was really just the only thing I thought possibly might be of interest to call out on this. There was some outgo, the biggest outgo was, for the, 386,000 for the payment on the new engine, fire apparatus, excuse me.
And that's already been approved. We approved that, right?
Yes, we did,
Yes.
and we've sent the money. And, we also had, so that was primarily the, changing cash was that major outgo for that. And then kind of the operating budget, on the revenue to actuals. So we're now 14.9 million is our operating revenue budget. We're at 10.7 million in received revenues. And we're down about $1.4 million on the general fund, but that doesn't concern me yet because we don't have all the revenues. We lagged the revenues on the sales tax, and we just got the motor vehicle license fee in lieu sales tax revenue in, and that came in stronger than expected. So I think we'll definitely hit our general fund revenue targets, which is something that's critical to us in staying on track with that. And again, it's kind of, well, it was a little dry, but we've had some rain here, so the water revenues will just be, right now, they're coming in if people are really starting to water. We're probably lagging on that, so we won't see those peak probably till the billing in July, August, September for that. But, as you know, on June 21st, we're expecting to have, the public hearing to adopt the rate study and rates.
Isn't that the first day of spring? Summer, I mean?
Summer.
Summer,
June
yes, that's
21st.
right.
Longest day of the year?
Yeah, right. So, expenditure-wise, again, we're on track for, expenditures year-to-date, and people are really looking through their budgets and their projects, and we're on track with that. Of course, with the construction, it's hard to know right where we'll cross over at the end of the year, so we probably have more budgeted than we'll actually get through on some of the construction costs, and that's just, always it's kind of like our to-do list is always a lot, more ambitious sometimes than we have the time for, but, I think we're looking good coming into close. We're working on the biennial budget. Again, a lot of projects on that. There will have to be some, prioritization of those projects, so we'll get into that probably here on May 31st with, this department heads and council.
For the workshop,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna be a budget.
Right, so
meeting.
we'll kind of really, it's gonna focus on the department heads and the significant changes of our current operating, kind of like year-over-year comparison of what's significantly different, that we're implementing, you know, the big stuff.
Any questions?
Nope.
From council members? Okay.
I will move that we accept the treasurer's report and budget to actual for the month of April 2018.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We accept the treasurer's report and budget to actual for the month of April 2018. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, good job, guys. I believe that that's the last one. We're on to city manager and staff reports. City manager.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention two things. One is that you've seen actually it fades in pretty well, but at the south end of town, the new sign has been put into place. We're looking for the nonprofits. Most of the signs are pretty faded, so we're looking for the nonprofits that, where those signs were faded, they've been given back to those nonprofits to try to get new signs up there. And I know that because I have an old sign in the back of my car for one of the nonprofits I belong to. So anyway, we're looking at putting those up, I think in about another 6 weeks or so. Something like
Great.
that, too.
We're taking them off and before we have a replacement?
They put a new structure in.
The whole structure is
It's
brand new.
a blank structure now,
Right.
when you're at the stoplight
Okay.
going
Yeah.
north.
So
Looks very
we
nice.
notified the
But
nonprofits
I
before
want
we,
it before tourism season.
We told them that
Yeah.
we were going to work on the project, right? And then at that point, the sign was down, all of the signs were off of it. And now the nonprofits are being asked to replace the signs.
so we didn't give them a whole lot of notice, is that?
You always
It's
look in
been going
hindsight
on
and
for
say.
a while, yeah.
But it's been going on for a while, and some people have known about it.
Excuse
This is the project that's between us and the community, Yreka Community Fund at.
It's through Shasta Regional Foundation, right? It's their first community project where members of the community have put money into. But what I'm concerned about is 6 weeks from now, I was just looking that up. So if today is the 17th of May, and we're
July
looking
1st.
at tourism season,
Mhm.
starting the end of this month or any minute, That's gonna be more than halfway through the tourism season.
And the tourism season is important.
1, 2, 3,
For
4, 5,
nonprofits.
6. Oh, I don't know about nonprofits, I'm just thinking to make our town look pretty.
Right. Well, even.
That's the end of June.
Yeah, I think that, and I may have the date wrong, but I think that's when it is, but,
28.
um,
1, 2,
the,
4, 5,
I think that
6.
the old sign looked dilapidated, and that's
It
why it
did.
became a top priority, so
Did.
if you're looking at it from the appearance part, I think that we've already achieved part of that objective, and we need to get the signs up again. And so that is in process, but we are working with a community group that's handling a lot of the details of that, I think we.
And we're waiting on the nonprofits to bring their
Right,
part of the sign?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and by we, remember, there's a community group involved, because they're doing most of the
On-the-ground
work.
stuff.
And.
Who's
you know,
doing the
we're-
actual sign? Did Public Works build it?
No, David Franklin and,
Ah,
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
did he really?
I seen him out
Wow.
there doing it,
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Such a good
He's
guy.
amazing.
He is amazing.
Yeah. So it's a really great community project, and we should definitely be, well, we'll be cheering when it's all complete.
yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that we've been approached by a firm called CGI. They do videos for communities. I've looked actually at 1 or 2 of the videos, and the way that they make their money is they don't charge the city for doing the video. Instead, they work with the city to develop videos that are basically promotional in nature, you know, talking about the community and that sort of thing. And then go to the local merchants to see if they want to buy advertising on it. So anyway, we've been approached by them. They approached us earlier. We didn't have time to work on it. I thought we'd missed the opportunity, but they said, no, you have not. City of Placerville has one of these. I talked to the city manager when I was running around loose over there.
What is it again? A CGI?
CGI is the name of the company,
And they do what?
promotional videos. For the
Oh,
city.
okay, for the
Can
city.
I interrupt now then?
Yes.
Okay, Richard Dingus is a member of Siskiyou Media
Mhm, that's
Council,
awesome.
and he already has videos for each of the incorporated cities. You might want to get a comparison call, well, it's nothing to the city, but I'm not sure. You might wanna just check out what he's offering anyway.
So it'll probably, I think there's a contract involved, so that would come back to you, but I just wanted to mention that so I
Okay.
can elicit the kind of responses you're giving me right now as to what other considerations you might have. I know the
And
city.
quality. We'd
city-
like to see the quality.
Sure. I know when I talked to Cleveland in Placerville, he said that they're on their 3rd set of videos.
With the same company?
With the same company.
And the businesses pay for it?
What they do is they try to get the businesses to pay for it through advertising. Theoretically, if no businesses wanted to do that, they would still put the videos up and we would have access to them. But,
I'm not sure I would like to see advertising when I wanna see the city of Yreka.
I'll do
Travel
the,
stuff.
it's not as,
Yeah.
Can't
well,
be.
anyway, we'll show it to you so you can decide on that.
It's not as, he was looking for a word, I was thinking can't be, but
Yeah, that could work too.
Yeah, can't be.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make you aware that that's something that we're looking at, and we'll probably bring back to you at a future meeting.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you.
That's all I had tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I didn't know if Matt had anything, but.
Matt?
no.
Nada? Okay. Councilmember Keg?
Just a few things. We had our Siskiyou Homelessness Coalition meeting today. I think it went pretty well. We discussed some stuff, and we're gonna have future direction on stuff on our group and everything, so that's a good plus. We went through obstacles, as far as PIT, point in time count, and tackling the HMIS and homeless management information system, so we'll work on that. But now we're just, as a group now, we need to have a little better direction, so now we're working on basically a strategy on that part. So that's good, that was a good meeting today. Couple other things, Chris Betts, Lieutenant Betts, has cards that they're handing out to the homeless people too, when they approach them and talk to them and whatnot. And they have resources on the back side of these cards, which I thought was really cool. We did these during our point in time count. I printed up a whole bunch of these cards. And so we took the information off of that I printed up and developed their own police cards to hand out to the homeless. So I thought that was a really awesome idea, to be able to distribute out to the homeless, and we'll hopefully be able to add to that and give them more information and whatnot there. So I thought that was really a cool thing. Let's see, what else did they have? Was there anything else? One other thing, I was approached, oopsie, it was here on this part. I was approached from a person asking about Blue Star Gas swapping out their tank up on Foothill without a permit or anything being passed through on that. So I'd like to find out some information on that.
Come on up.
Okay.
We'll tell you about it.
Good. 'Cause that's like, yeah, we don't wanna play any favoritisms if there's anything going on there, cause that's not cool. And what else did I have? I'll just leave it at that. I know I had something else, but I'll just leave it at that. We'll get going.
Okay, you wanna wait or you wanna go?
They can go first.
Okay, Councilmember Pacheco.
They can go first?
They.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no,
Robin,
we're
can you
fine,
go
we're fine, we're
first?
fine. No, no, no.
Council members Pacheco and Chesky. Thank
I
you.
was just admiring the privilege of not being prepared for going first. So, we had we continue to have, discussions on protecting city water. Enough for that. And then, I should say, I participated in a golf tournament, last weekend. Relay for Life, which is a cancer tournament. It was held in Lake Shastina. Very nice turnout. Hopefully they made a lot of money. And I'll be participating in another charity golf tournament this Saturday for the Sister Canine police dogs.
All right.
And that's gonna be out in the cloud.
Oh,
So
cool.
that'll be fun too.
Awesome.
That's all I have.
Do you know, can I add something?
Yeah.
Debbie and I, my wife and I, put on the very first Relay for Life in Yreka
Oh, cool.
21 years ago.
Wow.
So those Relay for Lives are really important.
It was very well attended, and they were, the people that were running it were very outgoing and exuberant, and they're not introverts at all.
No.
So,
No.
that's all. I'm
Okay,
sorry. Thank you,
great,
Madam
thank
Mayor.
you. Councilmember Chesky.
I'm just kind of burned out from 2 days of Texas continuing education classes, and that's only the start. We're gonna have to do a lot of it with all the changes in the tax
In the
law.
law.
And we are going through a lot of changes as a result of court decisions and things like that.
I
And
can't
it's,
imagine.
It's almost a never-ending nightmare.
Yeah, I can't even fathom that.
I appreciate you going.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes.
I'm glad it's you, not me. Put it that
Thank
way.
you. Okay, and, let's see, for me, I had the honor, excuse me, I thought you did a bypass.
When you bypass?
I guess so.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I'll be
Debbie.
quick. Okay, CTC has moved to the new location. Please go by and visit them.
I did,
Good.
and signed in.
And, they're having a little challenge getting people to relocate to this. I'm not
Jerry
sure.
had 5 people today, the most they've had since you opened.
Okay, yeah, it's taken a while because the Collier rest stop is way better used and appreciated and engaging and everything. So to go from, 100 or 200 a day down to 5 is a little bit shocking. But I think the philosophy was they were afraid to let the volunteers go away and take time off for fear they'd have trouble getting them back, to tell you the truth.
Probably true.
That's
So they
probably
go
true
on
to
and
that.
Did you
form
know that
another
the
lot.
first day they had 1, and guess who that 1 was? Steve.
Oh, I thought I doubled the number.
Okay.
Question on that movement of the
Facility.
California Welcome Center, why can't they get a sign on the freeway saying that you get off at seven,
Grace
seven,
is
six.
working on it.
Good, I'm glad
Grace
they're
is working
working
on
on
it.
it.
Yes.
because
Yes.
there-
And we
there's
are no
no sign
longer-
other than it's closed.
Yes.
That's
we
just
are-
temporary.
Yeah,
Correct.
well, until September first.
Yes, but we are no longer a member of California Welcome Center because we
Oh.
can't adhere to their standards. They require full-time on-site manager.
Okay.
We don't have the funds for
No.
that.
Plus you have to pay them $5,000
A year,
Yeah.
yes,
Are you
yeah.
talking about for the Collier, the original Collier Estuary?
Right.
That's
So
to be
we're
a
no
welcome
longer a
center.
member of the Welcome Center.
California Welcome Center, yes. We're,
Still
yes, yeah, we're still
It's
there.
It's still a Welcome Center,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
well, Collier Interpretive and Information Center. We're not affiliated
That
with.
doesn't mean anything if you don't say California Welcome Center.
Well, we don't have the extra 5,000 a year, sir.
So is that a state organization?
No, it's independent, isn't it?
It's independent, yeah. Mhm. But, I think
So
you
let's
have
just
to
call it the
answer-
Siskiyou County Welcome Center and put that sign up.
There you go.
Oh,
I
you
like
mean,
it.
you're
Good
looking for
idea.
the term welcome center then?
Actually, I
Is
like
that what
I am
I
looking
hear?
for the term Welcome Center,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
betcha.
Can you?
Because
Okay.
otherwise, no
Yeah.
one's, it's,
Right,
the other
right.
thing looks like,
I'll mention
I don't
it
know
to
what it
Grace
is, a
and I'll give
rail
you the credit,
organization?
cause it's a
Siskiyou
good
Welcome
idea.
It's a
Yes.
great idea.
Siskiyou County Welcome Center.
Siskiyou
Good
County
job.
welcomes you. I like
That is
it.
very
Good
good.
job, Rob.
I've also often referred to it as the front door to Siskiyou County.
Or even if you really wanna stick it to them, First California County Welcome Center.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
There you go.
very
There's
good.
another one
We're the
for you.
first and
Yeah, there's another
last.
one down by Red and Anderson.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. Okay, so, and the second thing I wanted to talk about was I got a phone call from Ramon and Joey. Last name is
Russell,
Russell, thank you.
I've known them longer than my children have been alive.
That's a while. Then why didn't he call you?
I know.
But he called me and spoke with me for about 20 minutes, which is fine. That's what we're here for. But what he told me that I was not aware of, which I was flabbergasted, because him and his wife do the landscaping and cleanup and stuff for the shopping centers. He was specifically calling about the area behind Rayleigh's, Penny's, Walmart. At night, they actually go down there, quote unquote, we're there about 1:30 in the evening cleaning up and all this stuff. It's like a little homeless city back there with partying, drugs, food, all this other stuff. And what literally happened that sent him over the edge was this guy came running through, grabbed his wife and turned her around and put her between him and these two young men that were chasing him in a little pickup with a baseball bat.
Oh.
So it's not a small issue, it's a horrendous issue that needs to be taken care of. He's been bitten and charged by
Dogs.
he specifically said a pit bull. And I had no idea that there was a city going on and a party and everything else at 1:30 at night there, and they're there.
So they call the police, right?
Yes, he said the police had just driven through, and this kid with the baseball bat incident happened after that. I was glad to hear that they had gone through. I was bummed that they didn't disperse the crowd. And I'm sorry I didn't want to mention it. So you can
When
pass
the-
that on to the chief.
When the chief was here, yeah, and I'll speak a little bit to that. A different situation, but,
Okay.
but general
Okay,
topic.
and I'm trying to remember everything he said, because he said a lot in 20 minutes. The garbage, that was the other issue. He said he wished that the people who give them food could see what they do with it, because it's all in the same packaging. It's all in a heap, and he picks up a full garbage bag of food every night, and that's not counting all the trash and stuff. So he is having to pay for extra garbage runs and dumps as a result of the city that's behind.
That's what that study, when the guy came through with the study, said, you know, you have these nonprofits giving away this stuff, thinking they're making their hearts
They're
warm,
not.
but then causing other problems.
But the dangerous situation is
Yeah.
gotta be addressed. That's horrible, horrible.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree.
All done.
Alrighty, thank you. Well, I didn't wanna start with that. I always like to start with positive stuff, but I will let you know that Pam Berthy's property, which has
Oh, that
been
sounds
a big, yes, is a big area. We talked about it this morning in our homelessness coalition meeting, but that's been cleaned up. At the cost of the private landowners. And they put 3 of those big, how many yarders, trash bins?
Huge semi-type.
Yes,
truck.
they cleaned up,
They're huge.
what, 6 different,
Campsite.
camps, and they hired a contractor to go in and clean up all the garbage. It was, how many yards, Matt, do you remember what the
Where I
yards
opened
and
up on the
yards?
shots.
And yards and yards,
Yeah,
thousands
it
of
was-
yards of garbage that came off of that. Now, I will have to tell you that my personal experience was, you know how you come down from the college and you go in back there behind Burger King and Starbucks. I came down there and the tents were all gone. It was like amazing. It was overnight, poof, over a weekend anyway, when Penberthies were up here. They actually were here in town and they made the cleanup. And then I went across the street to a certain lunch spot that's at the north end of Penny's and behind another certain lunch spot. Anyway, and there were 3, I just parked my car and I look over and there were 3 individuals down there, male individuals, didn't look good, and I thought, oh no. So I was going to call, but I went in to get my food. I came back out, the police were already there, they were already talking to the individuals, and they left their, bless you. There were no harsh words spoken, but it was definitely, time to move along type thing. And here's the card. They give them each the card that says, these are the resources that are available, for you if you need help. And so anyway, they're moving them along. So I told the chief, let's see, this week when I met with him and I also told Lieutenant Betts today what a good job they're doing. They really are. They're stepping up to the plate. Now, after Rotary, Steve and I had a conversation with the manager at Rayleigh's, and we talked to her because I wanted to find out, I had heard that about partying going on, and she told us some things, but she also said that our Yreka Police Department was doing a really good job of getting things cleaned up. So that's good to know. I want to make sure that these types of things are reported so they can clean them up, and I think that they're doing a great job. But, okay, that's the negative/positive.
Yeah.
So I had the privilege of speaking to the 3rd graders at Evergreen Elementary School. They ask the mayor every year, and the whole idea is to talk to these kids about the importance of getting a good night's sleep and eating a good breakfast and being ready for their state test. And so we talked about that, and then after I spoke, and then they had some 8th graders come talk to the 3rd graders to talk about, well, this is what I did, this is how I did good, these are the things I did. And then all the rest of the school, the kindergartners came through, they did a parade. Go 3rd graders. It was so awesome. The 1st graders came through, and then the 2nd graders came through, and it was really cute. It was really encouraging. Those kids were just so jazzed. It was really neat. Also, Yreka Rotary did, and Montague Rotary did Top 100 for the 8th graders on Tuesday night on the 14th, and that went very well from what I understand. But also, the high school Top 100 is going to be next Thursday night. It's going to be the 24th, Rotary, Yreka Rotary always gives 2 $1,000 scholarships, and the other Rotary clubs in the area do, as well as a lot of other organizations in SCI. It's a wonderful opportunity for kids. Honestly, they do such a good job of making sure that kids get the opportunity to go to college. And COS has provided the Siskiyou Promise. Any student graduating from a Siskiyou County high school can go to our community college for free, including they will get a $200 credit for books.
That's amazing.
Completely free.
I don't know how they can do that.
They're doing that. I mean, they're getting
That's
people
awesome.
from foreign countries and from Southern California, and now they want to make sure we keep some of our kids local, which is really exciting.
Yes.
I also attended the Rotary District Conference, and I got a really nice surprise when I went. As I think I've told you guys that I'm the assistant governor for our area, for our district, and I have 8 clubs, which is a challenge in itself. But I got the AG of the Year award.
Yay.
I got the assistant governor of
Right
the Year
on.
award. Yeah, I was shocked.
Nice.
Thank you. I was pleased, but I was very, very surprised. It was nice. Women in Business is having, for the first time, 2 scholarships for women graduates from Yreka High School. That's really cool. And you all know what I did at the LTC meeting the other night, make sure that we're gonna get our kids, and everybody loved the opportunity to have a pilot program, to have student passes, so I was really, really excited about that. I apologize for not being here last week, and I owe the biggest apology to you, Debbie, but I was at the League of California Cities division meeting in Grass Valley. When Brian was here, I didn't know that he was from Grass Valley. What a beautiful little city. It's really cool. Matt, they had the brick crosswalks. They were so cool.
Nice.
Remember when the merchants came to us and said, we want brick crosswalks? They were really cool. If there's any way we could afford them, just in the downtown area. It was really nice. And the merchants were just so welcoming to all of us. We did the walk around town as well as our business. And we had the emergency services, what do you call that? OES, Office of Emergency Services, came and spoke to us about, okay, how many of you have ever had an emergency in your city? How many of you have had a flood? How many of you have had a fire? And of course, hands went up, and he says, okay, how many of you are prepared for the next big one? And so he really brought it home about planning for emergencies.
Was that Quigley or Gamache?
It was neither. It was.
I mean, Voynich.
No, neither one. This was a guy, he closer to the Grass Valley area. He may have come up from Sacramento, but he was at the state level. Anyway, he did a really good job, and I was really glad that.
Next big one, meaning an earthquake?
What?
Earthquake?
Yeah, well, we
Earthquake,
didn't.
flood, fire.
Flood, fire, and earthquake, yeah, no kidding. Let's not
Volcano.
knock on-
Volcano, I know, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, wow, please. I told you, I'm trying to be positive. Okay, I also attended the Ford Family Foundation. There was a meeting, and Dwayne, you were invited to, the people that are working on homelessness and other organizations, nonprofit organizations, were there as well, and from Siskiyou County, and the president of the Ford Family Foundation came in and welcomed us to Roseburg and to the Ford Family Foundation and said, this is the largest contingency we've ever had from Siskiyou County under our roof, and welcomed us. And it was a very positive experience. And we were trying to come up with ways to get us all under the big tent. That was the thing, under the big tent. And we came up with the idea of something that we could each take to our communities and then all rally around too, like the Siskiyou Homelessness Coalition. But this one we're working on is called, we talked about Home Sweet Home, a way to keep our kids here or bring them back. But that didn't really flow when you put Siskiyou into it. So we kind of turned it around and made it Sweet Home Siskiyou, Yreka, Sweet Home Siskiyou, Mount Shasta, Sweet Home Siskiyou, Etna. We had people from all of those cities there, and the whole idea is for us to have our own individuality, our own things that we're doing within our own communities, but a way to draw us all in together so that it flows, so that we have similar things going on in our communities that are positive for our communities. So that was a really good. They wanted us to draw things, and I'm not an artist. So I asked them how big they wanted all the stick people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a really good experience. The Ford Family Foundation paid for everything. So there was no expense, just my time. It was 2 half days. So anyway, it was really cool. And I gave Lori Fleck from Etna a ride up, and she shared a room with me. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
Can I say one more thing? I
Sure.
did read at the library to the young kids.
Oh,
Kathy
fun.
Gilbert organizes. There were only like 5 kids there. But if you guys get invited to, or volunteer.
I'm on the schedule.
I'm on the schedule.
Are you?
And Steve read to him too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They stand right there. So
You gotta
it was
turn
so
the
cute.
book.
But that was cute. It was a hoot. It really was cute.
Yeah, that's fun. Cool. Okay. Anything else for the good of
Do
the
we
order?
have an executive
I-
session?
We do.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I guess I'll adjourn the
Closed.
meeting to closed session?
Correct.
Okay, I hereby at 9:20 and 15 seconds, we'll go to closed session.
I hope it's not a long